Good evening, everyone. This is a caucus of the Jersey City Municipal Council. I'm just taking a moment to silence my phone.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, shut up, Siri. Time is 5:36 p.m. We have a roll call for the commencement of this meeting. Councilperson Ridley. Prinzeri.
Here.
Baggiano. Yun.
Here.
Solomon.
Here.
Robinson.
He's away.
Will not be here.
No.
Rivera. Waterman.
Here.
Lavara.
Here.
Okay, Council President, take it away.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to begin the meeting with just a moment of silence for, today is 9/11, and we commemorated it this morning at the foot of Grand Street. But if we could have a moment of silence to commemorate the victims of 9/11. Thank you. Let me just get some, I just want to say yesterday was Rosh Hashanah, Shana Tova to everyone who celebrates. We have a couple of folks who need to, who have some things they have to get to. Rich, can we get them taken care of before we address your things? Greg has to get to a 9/11 ceremony, and Mr. Meyer has some. So our first guest today is Ray Meyer. Is Ray here?
Yes.
Where is he? There we go. So Ray has 3C tonight, council members. And 3C is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 13, Construction Codes Uniform. 1, adopting the updated Construction Site Safety Manual, 2018 edition. 2, incorporating the safety regulations contained therein by reference into Chapter 131. And 3, empowering the Construction Code official to enforce the regulation contained in the Construction Site Safety Manual, 2018 edition. Ray, you would like to take it away?
Sure. Basically, what this is an amendment to the 2008 ordinance that was created due to a lot of problems on construction sites pertaining to issues with wind, items blowing off of buildings and stuff like that. And we took a positive approach to basically minimize activities at the construction site and enforcing things as far as, dust control, netting, traffic safety plans, street closures, sidewalk closures, and such. And this here, basically, with the state adopting a lot of the previous ordinance for operation and setting up of cranes had to be removed because now it's become state law that they use from our ordinance itself. And that's basically what it comes down to as far as fixing up a lot of the things that we've seen over the years that needed to be added or amended from this.
Okay. Questions for Ray regarding the ordinance? And then other things not related to the ordinance after that. To the ordinance.
I didn't see Ray, correct me if I'm wrong. Is there anything here around what needs to be done with the sidewalk, so for the pedestrian access around a construction site?
That would be under the portion there of, as far as the construction site safety plan, worker safety plan, and then where they would safeguard the site, walking around specifications, equipment to be used, traffic routing plan, and with the fact of police now with the off-duty thing or with the being utilized, we had them also included in this here based upon the ordinance that would be involved to have police on site.
I would be interested in seeing, and correct me if I'm missing, is, a lot of, it seems small, but I think it becomes a pedestrian safety issue where developers or construction sites will pretty frequently sort of block off a sidewalk in the middle of the sidewalk, and they won't put up the appropriate signs to let people know if you're in a wheelchair or a stroller. So yeah, you see a lot of people crossing in the middle of a block. And I'm wondering if we can add maybe something very specific to this that says, you must either keep the sidewalk open or provide some sort of route into the street, and then they would need to apply for some exemption to that, but sort of make it mandatory that you have to keep the sidewalk open with scaffolding or create some sort of path. And if you feel like you can't do either one, then you've got to apply for a special exemption. Is that something we can do?
Yeah, well, that would be part of the discussion when they submit the plan to us, okay?
But are we able to write it in? Because I'd rather us set the standard clearly, that's what you got to do,
Sure.
and then let them
Sure, we can-
apply for some exemption.
We can make the necessary changes for it.
Okay, that'd be great.
In addition, if you don't mind, in addition to that, I see that there is information here on wind and wind conditions, but as you know, we had that wall come down on Boulevard and Grant, so will that also have pre-inspection before, say, a storm is going to come, so that we can make sure these buildings are secure, so that kind of thing doesn't happen again?
That was a construction demonstration. I don't believe that. It was part construction and part wind conditions and stuff like that. So, but yes, we are following up on that type of an activity to make sure the appropriate techniques are being followed in those regards.
Is it pertaining to this ordinance, Councilman?
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
so I'd like to speak with the first thing is Corporation Council. So currently the ordinance that's Uniform Construction Code officer able to enforce this one. Can we add city engineer also? And I spoke with Ray Meyer, actually, he don't mind and he believe there's another good idea to add it to city engineer.
So the request would be to have it evaluated by the construction official and the city engineer?
Got it. Okay. Great, no problem. Good.
Anyone else with regard to the ordinance? Okay. Now, Councilman Boggiano, you had certain questions?
I had asked for Ray to be here. I didn't know he was coming for this here anyway. All right, look, Ray, 2 years ago, you sat right where Bob is sitting, and Michael, myself, and I think 2 or 3 other council people who are not here right now, asked that your department be increased. And I'll tell you, it's gotten to a point where with all this development, 50-story buildings going up and everything, it's out of hand. Now, I've called you and I've texted you. I drive Joe Kuna crazy. The weekends have got to stop. And, they say call the police. Well, people have called the police weekend after weekend after weekend, and nothing is done. They come, just like Waldo Avenue last week. They told them to stop working on Saturday, making noise, waking the neighborhood up. They leave and they go right back to work. I mean, it's ridiculous. You need more people, and you need them on the weekends. You need people out on the weekends, right? And availability.
I thought you assigned it to a weekend crew, right?
Let's let Mr. Myers
Yeah.
respond.
We have an inspector that goes and works the weekend, okay? We have an inspector that works the weekend, but if I'm informed, okay, and as you're aware of, I laid the law down with that particular construction site, the same as I did with 235 Grand Street, when I received complaints about them making noise, that their weekend work was suspended. That site that was on Waldo was now advised is that they better take tighter control of their subcontractors working on there, because if it is found out that they are working there, they will start now losing time on a regular work day and they better not have people show up for work, and I'll affect it that way there, all right? But having the inspectors there, having an inspector around there, unless I know about it, okay, which now I have been and been informed of it, I will take the appropriate action against the contractors so that they understand what the laws are and the regulations.
Out of control of this city and the neighborhoods. They do what the heck they want. Nobody enforces anything. I drive Joe Kuna crazy, and I contacted you Saturday, and like the people in the neighborhoods have had it. And the other issue is Ray. You talked about sidewalks. I think you brought it up. I've been on Joe Kuna's back, and Andrew. Andrew, is that you over in the corner? Yeah. I've been on breaking their backs about KRE. I spoke to. Today again, an Uber driver almost hit a girl in the street at Summit Avenue and Pavonia. 2 weeks ago, I almost hit a girl walked out in front of me from behind the barricade. This whole sidewalk's blocked off. I spoke to person, that sidewalk has got to be reopened, or something's got to be done. There was no guard there today, the Uber driver said. There was nobody, around. It's out of control. Go to Tours and Mercer. Who the heck gave them permission to close the street down when you got a charter school across the street, you got Hudson Catholic on the other street, you got the kids walking to number 11 school, and they closed off the entire sidewalk? Can't happen. I don't care about these developers. They're not from Jersey City. They come in here and they just destroy a neighborhood, and it's got to stop. And Ray, Tours and Mercer, I spoke to Joe, and I hope he got a hold of those people. And not only that, they went into the backyard of somebody, took away 20 feet of their backyard. Joe was supposed to be here tonight. I have the survey of those people's house. I mean, it's just getting to be ridiculous. I'm not picking on you, Ray, but something has got to be done. Something has got to be done.
But you
and
gotta
they
have to
start,
done. You, Joe.
You were first, right?
I mean, I call Andrew all the time, I call Joe all the time, and now I'm calling you. And one of the major constructions, the same one that's doing Tourist Avenue, is doing Waldo Avenue, and on Palisade Avenue, where they closed down Palisade Avenue illegally, and everybody up there was having a fit. And that was split between his ward and my ward.
No, his word, not my
No, it
word.
was your ward.
All right, I'll take it,
Your
okay.
ward. So, but Ray, something has got to be done. Either you got to get more help, you got to get more people. We asked for it 2 years ago, and the city has got to give you more personnel.
I mean, those kind of,
There's multiple things going on there, right? So, construction that's unauthorized, roads not being closed down, not having appropriate personnel to direct traffic. I'm not sure that all of that falls under your purview.
Streets and sidewalks being closed for whatever reason, I mean, it's something that's worked out together with us in traffic engineering, and if there's an issue with it, we'll go into it and we'll find out what's going on with it and why they're doing it, okay? I mean, but the normal street closures that occur out there, for water services or other utility work and stuff like that, that's not controlled from my office, so.
I mean, the only way comes in, you go right downtown, in your ward, half the streets are closed. You're going around in a circle, and it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. Come up to where I am. They're doing the same thing, and it cannot continue. I speak to Monty Zucker all the time, and there's no permits to close the street. No permits to close the street. It's ridiculous.
And are there police assigned to this?
No, most of the time it's found no, because of, what's going on.
These are questions for the council to answer. This is more this is administration.
I think if you could just provide us the locations of anytime you see this, and we'll get right on it. I mean, Ray and traffic and police are very responsive to this. It's just, we're not sure what intersection you're talking about.
He's doing work,
They
they
tell
shut
these-
down Mallory.
They tell these contractors, and they don't do nothing, the contractors.
So how do we report these? Let's just be clear, particularly the weekend stuff, but also just how are we generally reporting these incidents such that they get into the queue?
Everybody's got my cell phone number, give me a call. Give me a message, and it'll be handled, and if I have the inspectors here on the weekend, I'll respond them to the site. Otherwise, I will deal with them on Monday morning and take care of it appropriately.
Do we find them, Ray? Are they fined once we find them?
I would prefer to shut them down, okay, and that's where it costs them, as opposed to fining them, because that just shut them down.
Do we keep records of how many people? How many complaints are recorded or are filed, and then how many actions are taken, whether it be a shutdown or a fine or some other?
No.
Okay. So to the point of Councilman Boggiano, the idea that you have certain contractors or developers who are persistent repeat offenders, like we should keep track of that. Like that's not good.
Well, yeah.
They shouldn't do business in Jersey City. Frankly, it's right.
That can easily be done to see where there's a trend going on and stuff. I don't have a problem with that.
can you do more organized, maybe a little bit better then? Because Joe Connor mentioned that all the traffic street closed, it's gonna be, what's the name of that app? Waze?
Yeah.
I tried a couple of times.
We have there's a map on the data portal that has all the street closures. You can actually search by date, so you can look in the future or in the past, and
But I tried.
I can come over and show you if you want. No? Okay.
So Andrew, I think that probably your department as one of the most important departments, you should be more paying attention to that, mapping, you know what I'm saying? Like first week, it's so many plan to close because it depends on the construction weather permit, you know what I'm saying? So maybe second week or so on, so maybe we can organize.
Yeah, like Brian was saying, all of the permits that we issue are visible on a map that anyone can access. And that's on the open data portal. And that shows any permit. You can even look up old permits if you were interested in a permit that might have been active, let's say, a month ago. You can look that up as well.
Yeah, but Andrew, the problem is, most of the streets that are closed have no permits to close the streets.
Yeah, that's
what I'm saying.
I completely understand.
Yeah.
What's the penalty for working on a street that's not closed? Shut them down?
It was closed without permit.
It would be shut down. The job would be shut down. If it's a traffic matter, then it should be
A citation by the police.
Police issue a citation.
Yeah. Traffic is shut down before.
Sufficiently responded, Councilman?
let's see what happens.
Okay, report. Ray, everyone's got your cell phone, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Next victim?
Director Kears? Director Kears? He has 10T and 10Z26.
All right, 10, pardon me. 10T is authorizing the award of contract to Imtech Corporation, doing business as ActiveView Corporation for the maintenance and support of the ActiveView LED data wall system under the GSA contract, Government Services Contract, for the Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, funded through the fiscal year 17 UASI Urban Area Security Initiative Grant. That's T.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the council. I respectfully submit the following resolutions for your consideration. Resolution 10T 18-82. This will authorize the award of a contract to Imtech Corporation, trading as ActiveView Corporation, to provide maintenance and software upgrades to the Emergency Operations Center video wall, which is funded through the Urban Area Security Initiative 2017.
Council, any questions? Hearing none, next item.
Next item will be
Resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Johnston Communications for the purchase, installation, and cabling of electronic network security equipment for the City Hall Annex and WIC Building through the Union County Cooperative Pricing Agreement.
Once again, this resolution will authorize the contract award to Johnson Communications, provide video surveillance cameras and related security enhancement equipment, installation, cabling, and the electronic security network, security equipment for the City Hall Annex and the WIC Building. Award of this contract is based on a proposal submitted by Johnston Communication in the amount of $331,739.99, one of three proposals which presented the lowest bid. Accordingly, as per New Jersey Statute 48-11-6-1A, the award shall be made to a vendor whose response is most advantageous, price and factors considered. Basically, they were the low bidder on a three-bid contract. They will supply, according to their specifications, everything that we put on paper as far as what our needs were, and we recommend that the contract be awarded.
Council, any questions?
Sure. Less for the director, actually, more for the business administrator. Can you help understand why this is a cost that isn't part of the construction of the annex?
That's a great question. I'm not sure why the security equipment was not included, but it was a glaring gap when I came here as business administrator. I will say also that this was something that was literally on my desk when I came in as business administrator, and Rolando, council president, suggested that we get more than one quote. There is no legal requirement for us to get 3 quotes if we're doing a state contract or more quotes, but we said let's look for a better price. We ended up saving about $100,000 that way. So it was a good move, and we're trying to do that everywhere now for everything. Even if we don't legally have to, we're trying to get more quotes.
Should we note after the Annex Part 2?
Yeah.
If this is going to be included?
We have a different approval process now. We're making sure that architecture and engineering review everything thoroughly before things move forward. It was a little looser the first time around, so we're not going to make this mistake again.
So when you say, Brian?
Yes.
When you say cabling doesn't require to open the wall to put your wire, right?
Yes, yeah.
They're going to open the wall again?
I don't think they have to for this one, right?
No, I believe what they'll do, Councilman, is they have ductwork within the facility. They'll just be adding this in, correct? Yeah, there's no construction. Yeah.
And it's the equipment at the front, like metal detectors and gates and that stuff, which you'll see the big opening when you walk in.
Any other questions? Okay, Director Kears, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to bring up Stephanie Daniels. She has a second reading ordinance 4I, and she wasn't available at the last caucus, but just wanted to verify if there was any questions, to ask them now.
This is regarding the film ordinance.
Yep.
Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, let's get to it. It is the second reading, is it not?
Yes, it is.
And it's 4I.
I have a question. A1, Section 3, where we got rid of the part where it says, I guess there was a discount for Jersey City residents.
Right.
So we're no longer giving residents a discount.
We do give discounts. That is to say, okay, we have 2 forms of lower fees for people. One is student films, and the other is for legitimate nonprofits. Legitimate student films, provable, and legitimate nonprofits. As far as, a citizen, a resident of Jersey City is going to use as many resources as anyone else to shoot a film, and it takes a lot of resources. They pay for some of them, and some of them they don't. For example, off-duty police, that's a separate fee that they pay for. But when it comes to all the permitting, all the organization, engaging with traffic and engineering, or the public school system, or residents, or the parks, people, the neighborhood associations, that remains the same. If you have a big footprint shoot, then you're taking up a lot of resources.
Any other questions, Council?
OEM, is it this week?
Tuesday. That's for a specific film shoot
Yeah.
that is coming to us. Warner Brothers has brought probably the first major film shoot in a couple decades, probably.
Be there. What time is
Correct.
that?
I'm sorry?
What time is that?
I believe it's 10 o'clock. I'll confirm it and I'll send you an email. Actually, we're going to meet this week on it, you and I.
Okay, thank you.
So, other than this one, that you are the charge of the improved audio system in the city council chamber, so what happened? Still, we haven't done see any improvement yet.
But for good reason, I understand it. Why don't you and I meet on this offline? I have a lot of information for you.
We're working on that separately.
We just fix the problem, that's what I want.
Just fix the problem.
Yeah, don't spend the time to explain what is the reason. Just fix the problem, because
Fair enough.
2014, this council, they allocated $100,000 for the improved the video system, the audio system. Still till today, we didn't see any difference, not that much, okay? So I'd like to know, it should be take 4 years, you know? So, long story make sure. Yeah.
I'd love to give you all this information. I have a ton of new information for you on this. We are very close. Yeah, audio as well, by the way. Yep, you got it.
Thank you. Thank you, Seth.
Oh, that's
Okay, thank you.
Want us to hit the eject button?
So we have a couple of other directors here, division directors for second reading ordinances. If there are questions related to them, 4D being one, that's the chaplain ordinance, and then 4E, is it, with regard to the reorganization for the Division of Housing Preservation. Do any members of the council have specific questions? Yeah. Okay, Dinah, Dennis?
Yeah.
What is your last name?
What is it?
Hendon, Hendon.
You're not the first Hendon to work for Jersey City.
I'm not?
Nope. We had an Elisha Hendon, head of the Human Rights Commission.
I'm gonna have to look
And
that
I
up.
mentioned that last time is a very good move, the right direction. But my question is that one of the bureaus, the Bureau of the Tenant Assistants, those, what happened? Not anymore? Those, so who's going to take over that job?
So here's what we did. We simplified the ordinance, the restructuring portion of the ordinance. But if you look in the rent control ordinance, which is Chapter 260, that lays out all of the functions of the Rent Leveling Bureau, or is it an office now? Okay, sorry, I don't have my copy. It's okay. It's Rosh Hashanah. I came from a celebration to be here, so I didn't have time to stop at the office first. But I know what you're alluding to, and the way the ordinance was written in the past, the way the Rent Leveling Bureau was written, it tried to, but didn't completely parrot the language of rent control. This ordinance now says that the Division of Housing Preservation is going to basically enforce the property maintenance code, that's the housing code official, and the rent control ordinance. So everything that you're talking about is contained within the rent control ordinance, and that is the ordinance that this division is charged with enforcing. So there's no missing language. If you go and you look at Chapter 260, you'll find it all there. Correct.
That's what I
I believe I requested copies of those two chapters at the last caucus around this 254 and 260, I guess it is, right?
Now, some of that
Marlene, can you make a note of that?
down the road is going to have to be tweaked because the name of the bureau is now slightly different, but the enforcement is the same.
So not only enforcement, like assistance programs.
Well, that bureau has never given out money. We don't have, that's not an assistance bureau. It's an enforcement. Legal assistance, no, we do education.
Education program.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
And then the chaplain program, nothing there? Great. Paul, thank you for your time. Where is he?
Thanks, no thanks.
And thank you, Dinah. Now, we have a number of...
Next year, you can do it too.
We have a number of appointments to the Bayfront Advisory Commission. I'd like to get them in and out. If people have questions If you have questions, and if you don't, that's fine too. We'll bring up the members who are being nominated for appointment. Only 2 were able to show up today. The other 2 are not available, although they said they would call in if we wanted to do that. Does anyone have questions for the nominees?
When I read their resumes, fantastic. I don't know where they got all those ones, but I think probably they're all good people to join.
Z16.
Yeah.
I think I saw Charlene Burke, so it was 16 and 17, right?
There should be,
And there's 18 and 19, but they're not present.
right.
When we passed it, but I have a problem with Jeff Capowise, Council President.
What's that?
Jeff Capowise, he knows too much. Very dangerous to be on the Advisory Committee. I will let you go.
I've had a conversation with Jeff already. We'll talk some more offline, and I'll talk offline with you, Charlene, okay? All right. Which one? Ed Folks?
Yeah,
We can bring him on the phone.
bring him.
Do that. Where's the speakerphone?
It's over there. I just disconnected it, wondering what it was doing in the middle of the table.
It was there for that purpose.
We solved that mystery.
You'll meet him? Okay, never mind. Yeah. Who else? Anyone else want to have that meeting? You want to have a meeting with him? Okay, I will reach out to him, and if not, then he can hold it off till another meeting or something like that, and bring him in at that time. Ed Folks is a developer, contractor, GC, does small to mid-sized stuff, affordable, a lot of affordable stuff in Ward F and Ward A largely. Yep. Okay, Jeff, Charlene, thank you. All right, I'll reach out to both of you offline, okay? Thanks. And that brings us to our stars of the evening. Oh, actually, let me just, if I may, I'm sorry. So, which are the Zone 16 ones?
It was a second reading, and then, actually, Andrew's here to speak about some of that too. It's sort of overlapping. There's,
3D and 4G.
4G, yep.
Folks, okay,
This will be quick.
we're just gonna defer to 3D and 4G on this, and 3D and 4G, which are both Zone 16 type ordinances. Andrew, do you wanna, Mary's here kind of to just answer general questions about Zone 16, in case those questions came up.
3D is an ordinance supplementing traffic code, permit parking amending, parking restrictions in residential zones of the traffic code, repealing streets from Zone 2 residential permit parking that are now part of Zone 16.
This is like a kindergarten.
This is cleaning some stuff up.
Right.
Exactly, it's relatively simple. There was some overlap between the previously existing Zone 2 and the newly existing Zone 16, so this just cleans up the code.
4G is a second reading ordinance.
That's an ordinance amending the traffic code, extending the eastern limits for streets in Zone 16 to the western side of Patterson Plank Road.
This is also cleaning up the language. It was missing a couple of corners of streets, so.
Okay, so no questions on that? Any questions generally? That's why Mary's here.
Somebody inside was saying before, they're putting up all these signs, but nobody's been notified, nobody's gotten permits, change of permits. How can they put up the signs without the people, the residents being notified?
There has been there has been an outreach effort.
We've done the rounds at community group meetings in the Heights. There's a mailing in the mail literally right now. You should get it next couple days.
The signs are up already.
Yeah, we're not enforcing it. Yeah. It took, what, 6 weeks to put all the signs up? We had to start in the middle of summer. But before that, we went to almost every community group meeting in the Heights. We did some social media outreach. We tried to get the word out with Councilman Yoon as well. But yeah, so we're working on that. And again, there's a mailing in the mail literally today. You should get it in a couple of days, everyone in the Heights, everyone.
And Andrew, I'd like to thank you too, that there are no street, always stop sign for the Columbia, Liberty, Terrace Avenue. People so delight, I think you're going to save a lot of people's life at each corner. Thank you for that, really.
I also want to, just want to also mention on the record that we've extended the hours for parking enforcement. If anyone needs to get a permit, you can get in there as early as 7 to 6. There's an online application as well. We've added a lot of additional staff and added some overtime to handle the influx of permits. So we're
now that the issue 16, are you here? Thank you, Andrew. Can I? She can. You can go. Huh? Andrew, what's the matter with you? I'm gonna take your baby. So I just wanted to one question. The first things that when I was there, the parking division, they have a line and the people waiting for 1.5 to 2 hours. So we spoke with business Brian, have some time to extend. So now they have some evening time, evening hours and the weekend.
We haven't done weekends yet. The encouragement that is being made is to have people actually do them online. That's part of the mailer that communications for the administration sent out. And it's urging people to actually go online and apply so they don't have to come wait online. We have added additional desktops in order to address the online applications that will be coming in. We expect that to be significant once the mailers hit.
How many did you process earlier? 3,000?
We did 3,000 in 3 weeks, just for Zone 16.
And
So,
there's not a lot, and there's a lot more coming, so...
yeah, Councilman, as you said, there's 60,000 households affected by this. So, there's going to be lines there.
Yeah, it's a lot.
We've offered people the option, if they come in, if they have a money order, they can drop their application off, they can either pick it up at the end of the day or we'll mail it. So we're trying to make it easier so that they don't have to come in. Once we start doing the employee permits, we're going to reach out to the schools so that when we deal with the teachers, that we'll do them in packets as opposed to having all the teachers from each individual school coming in. So we're going to try and group them to make it a little easier. It's easier for us to process them, and it doesn't have a bunch of people standing around waiting for applications.
Online?
Yes.
3 weeks ago, and 3 weeks later I get a response. You have to do all over again. I said, what I did wrong? I didn't do anything wrong. But they just say to do all over again. I scratched my head, all there was, So the online seems like they have some problem, is that
We only had a few people doing it. We've just now updated. The division of the police director's office is actually going to be assisting us with the additional online applications. There were approximately 500 on Cognito, but part of the problem is everyone that's applying doesn't necessarily provide you with the proper documentation. So it's back and forth. It's not just, okay, here it is and out goes the permit. You have to go back and forth with some people, and some people don't want to take no for an answer. So, I mean, it's been some of that. I think as of this morning, we had 98 online applications. So.
And also the phone services, like, if people call any questions, I think we have to improve some phone line service a little more. People, maybe designate one person to respond to all those, because when the people call my office, I only have a limited answer because I'm not the person, you know what I'm saying? Okay, if you have a phone line service, we improve that, I think it will be okay.
We did have one person dedicated to answering the phones. However, when you have 100 people online, you're trying to get the people out the door. So it's kind of prioritizing getting the customer service and the person their permit out. So there's 5 desks, 5 computers working.
Yeah, we're working on it. And if you hear about any other issues, let us know, and we'll adjust accordingly.
Again, we're 7 in the morning till 6 in the evening, and to be honest with you, going much later than that, they're dealing with numbers and inputting documents, and they're barely getting lunches and breaks. So, the online makes it easier to process, so hopefully a lot of people will take advantage of that.
I guess I would appreciate all the work that's being done, but I would slightly disagree with you, Councilman Rivera, just that there's been well over a year to kind of prepare and put this together. I'm glad to see it's coming together, but I think, when the effective enforcement comes in, it's my intention, after it's all said and done, that kind of to do some sort of recap on this and see, like, what was missing, where do we break down, what we need to do to make sure that these sort of things, when we have a plastic bag rollout or other major implementations throughout the city, that that we're approaching it to far more with better planning and strategic, like, direction and goals out there on this stuff. So.
Council President, in all honesty, when you have 60,000 households affected at one time, it's like going to DMV. There's 60,000 households, and some of these households have 5 and 6 cars. There's the communication, like Brian said, the mailer just went out today. So the communication to the public is just going out. We've been issuing permits since July.
The council initiated kind of a inquiry to ask this to come to City Council back in March, I think it was, maybe February, because the rollout date was like the deadline was coming for the effective date of the ordinance, and so there was nothing in place, nothing. Like, I don't want to overlook that. Like, it's just, I mean, you guys are on top of it now. I'm not going to discredit that stuff and the hard work that people are doing to get back on top of that, but there was definitely a missing, like a gap there in, like, in service.
It wasn't all just, it's not just.
I'm not pointing fingers at anyone. I'm saying we're going to have to, like, I'd like to see a comprehensive debrief on this whole thing and see, like, where.
I'm happy to.
Meeting actually this week to go over.
So one of the things actually in April when I first came, we started doing these regular meetings and trying to get on top of this. And for our future rollouts like the plastic bag ban, that's 8 months away, and we are already having meetings and planning and that sort of thing. So we're taking a different approach for some of these things as well.
But I think part of the challenge they had though was the hiring.
We're still hiring.
That was part of the challenge with them.
Yeah.
Because even though we approved it, they weren't hiring at the time because then they had to wait for the budget and it was going back and
In
forth.
terms of enforcement, we've still only we hired a dozen people so far. We've been, going through backgrounds of people making it, not making it. I still need another dozen people just to do the enforcement.
So like I did state, they've been doing good with the amounts that they were dealt with.
Yeah.
But we know that they were behind the 8 ball from the beginning, and now you just added an extra amount. So as the BA, what time frame are we looking at for her to get the adequate manpower so that we can start this ball rolling so she doesn't have to go through this?
We've been going through that process now. We've been interviewing and hiring and adding staff along the way.
So then it's safe to say that the next time she comes here, she can have a better outlook and a better story, instead of going through this.
Yeah.
Is it safe to say that?
Yes, absolutely.
Next time you come here, if she's going to go through this again, then I'm going to be the one that's going to say, listen, we told you to hire people because they're going through changes there, so we just need to start hiring.
One thing I would suggest is we're going to do a mass zone, again, like it's all of the heights, 60,000 households. Maybe we phase it and not put that many people at one time, one date, because it's just too much at one time for any division to handle. Maybe split it in half. The effective date for this half is this date, the effective date for this half is that date.
This is your show. So you just tell us what you want to do, and then we respect that.
I don't think we've ever looked out a zone this large.
Can I say something? So I agree with the council president 100%. A lot of things we disagree, but what you say, I totally agree with that, because that's the reason 2017, when this council passed the ordinances in May, we give to 1 year's grace period to prepare for all those things. But actually, we get to 1 year, but now, actually, we give to 18 months now. So if you blame them, make the people to wait in line 1.5 to 2 hours, I got nobody to blame other than you, actually. You know what I'm saying?
I wasn't in charge of the communication. I wasn't in charge of the signs. It's a multifaceted.
If we hire the need of manpower, you know that there are under 60,000 people in Jersey Heights, June 16, then you should be planned for that. And you should be asked the city council that the budget for the hire the people, you should be doing that, you know what I'm saying? So now, so long to make sure. Do me a favor. That was then, this is now.
Yeah.
Seems like a Brian.
I appreciate
Thank you for your great
comments,
job.
but like,
Yeah,
we're moving forward.
I'm sorry, I'll take responsibility for there being lines, again, 60,000 people, but the communication that was supposed to be sent out to your residents didn't come from my office. That was the Office of the Communication. It was supposed to be done in June. I didn't do that, it went out today. Brian, I'm sorry, I'm not going to get all the beat up on this.
So, folks, I didn't say that to suggest that anybody was responsible or pointing fingers. Again, I'm just saying, no, I'm not from me. I'm saying there's a breakdown, and there was a breakdown. What I'm happy with and concur with Councilman Rivera is that things have moved forward over the past 6 months or so, and 3 to 6 months or somewhere to that effect. And happy to see the progress and happy to see things getting done. So
Things are moving, yeah.
The lines are much smaller.
we can do the postmortem later on this stuff and figure it out, and I'm sure we will. And then there's lessons learned, right? So.
Director, last thing is that the people think that they're going to in-person study October instead of to rush, even though we study November. So make that less stress to your side and the community side. We got to work it out.
Councilman, I will tell you this, as long as there are lines and people still coming in to get permits, I am not going to enforce the zone. I'm looking at November, possibly December. What I said at community meetings dating back to May, where if the signs had gone up and everything was set for a September rollout, we would give a 30-day grace period for people to come in and get permits. After 30 days, they're kind of on their own if they haven't figured out that they need a permit at that point. It is not my goal to go out and hit residents with $110 tickets because they're still not getting their permits. So. And anyone who has a Zone 2 permit that is valid through 19 do not need to come in and get a new permit. We're cross-honoring the old Zone 2 permits along with the 16 permits. No reason for them to come in and wait online if they have a valid permit.
Okay. This only affects part of what? Ward C and Ward D?
Yes.
So from the
What
state
about the
house,
rest of the city?
no.
They're staying the same as what they are. But those people are still coming in for their regular renewals that come up in September, October as well. Right, so this is just for the new zone.
And another one is, can't you put some extra chairs in the hallway so when the people comes of age and senior, so they can sit down to wait for you?
We've been seating the seniors in the office and taking them first. We have one person dedicated to just taking the seniors. I will try to put additional seats, but then it also, the hallway is narrow. We don't want people tripping, falling, and having safety issues. You know, that's...
Wide enough to put your one chairs in.
Fortunately, the line is much smaller so far this week, so...
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, Mary, one more thing. Would you please instruct the people?
We'll go in.
I've been driving you crazy. They're going to ticket our residents. They better ticket the people that are working on the buildings. I
I
mean,
have a supervisor going up there.
all right, because what happened the other day, and happened a week ago, 2 weeks ago, it's getting to be a little annoying. I mean, you know.
I'll have the supervisor go up every day. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. Thank you for your time. Okay, before we get to the Booton Reservoir, gentlemen, thank you for your patience. Chief, I'm going to knock you out, okay?
I'd like to see you try.
Now, that's definitely not happening. That's definitely not happening. Trust me on that one. That's 10Q, 10R, 10W.
Yeah.
All right, 10Q is a resolution authorizing an agreement with Morris County to permit Jersey City probationary firefighters to attend the Morris County Public Safety Academy.
Any questions on that?
R is related to Q in that it allows our risk manager to issue a certificate of insurance
No questions?
to the Morris County facility. What's the next one you have there, Steve?
W.
Chief,
W.
continue working on getting our own police academy back. We had the #1 police academy in the state, and the prior administration caused
We
it.
are-
Let's get the...
Yeah, as we
what
talked about,
talking
we're
about
working on
today.
that, absolutely.
We were just talking about it.
Yeah, yeah, so we're definitely, just got to convince a couple people. Yeah, thank you. W.
W is a resolution to award a contract to Big Top Manufacturing
That's
for the purchase and delivery of a storage tent. This is for SIP Avenue?
This is for the temporary housing for the SIP Avenue.
Fire engines and ladder truck. Somehow there was a snafu, it should have been in the last meeting, but somebody lost the paperwork, so. Timeline after today, they had the tent built, but I think because of the delay, they got rid of that one, so it's going to be delayed a couple weeks. But I don't think the plot was ready yet either. They had a couple issues with, so we should be good, hopefully, the end of the month. Yeah. We're good?
Yeah. Is it still going to take a year to finish that firehouse?
They're not doing a good job, as from what I gather. We did talk with Brian, and I think they issued them some kind of something in writing, right? Yeah, we've been on them constantly, so, yeah.
They're driving me nuts, all right?
Yeah.
Oh, they're driving you nuts, too. You got to get SIP Avenue, that firehouse opened again. If you're having problems with these people, get rid of them. I mean, we can't have another situation like the West District.
Yeah, I mean, there's a process to get rid of them, so we started this is the first shot across the bow to them. They got to start performing. Yeah.
They have a performance bond.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I have one of my deputy chiefs that's on them every week, so Chief DeGilio, so he's from the contracting field, so he knows exactly how to push them, so, yeah.
Okay.
All good? Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Mayor Soriano, and who else is with you, sir? Thank you, Mayor, for your patience.
No problem. Good evening. I'm Mayor Soriano of Parsippany. I'm accompanied by Chief Andrew Miller, Chief of the Parsippany Troy Hills Police Department. My Chief of Staff, Matt Clarkin, as well. But I was going to have the Chief speak first. And actually, I have members of the Open Space Institute here with me as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good evening.
Thank you, Chief.
Hi.
This is about 3A, is it not?
This is 3A, yes. Wooten Reservoir.
And this is a resolution authorizing the execution of a 40-year lease agreement with the Morris County Park Commission regarding the development, management, and maintenance of a recreational trail at the Jersey City Reservoir in Boonton.
Want another chair? Oh. I didn't realize you were I will move around.
Okay. Keith, do you want to say anything, or should I just jump in? You can just jump in. Thank you, everybody. My name is Terrence Nolan. Chief Andrew Miller was just introduced, Mayor Soriano, Matt Clarkin, certified ecologist Blaine Rothhauser, my colleague Eve Boyce. I'm with the Open Space Institute. We are, just to let you know who we are, we're a nonprofit conservation organization. We look for opportunities to protect land, water, and help with public access. We are based in New York, but we work from Maine to Florida. We see an opportunity to bring resources to help protect the Boonton Reservoir as well as the water that flows in it, and I'm really happy to have representatives from Parsippany here, where this source water sits, the majority of it sits, to talk about how this project can enhance water quality and importantly how it can enhance security. And the way that we thought we would do this, and we know there'll be questions, is I would just very quickly run through what the proposal is. There's the water quality side and the security side that I wanted to make sure we put out there, and then have a discussion. Here's an aerial view of the reservoir.
Before, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Before you start any presentation, let me ask you a quick question. What kind of relationship is your organization and Morris County Park Commission?
Great question. So we have no formal relationship with them. We're not hired by them or paid by them. In fact, we're not doing this for a fee for anybody. We are an organization that is funded by foundations and individual donors throughout New Jersey. And so what we've proposed with Morris County Park Commission is that we would help facilitate this.
Okay, but now, my second question is that we're going to make the lease agreement not with your company, your institute. We're going to make a lease agreement with that Morris County Park Commissioner. I think I'm not feel comfortable hearing from your presentation. More likely, my tenant will be tenant. No, listen to me.
Let's hear what he has to say.
Yes, but we gotta be clear
first. Let's hear the science.
Yeah, I hear the concern, by the way, but I get
It's
it.
not a concern because the city of Jersey is a landlord, and the Morris County Park Commission will be our tenant. Then I like to hear from the tenant. And you just mentioned you got nothing to do with that Morris County Park Commissioner, and you make a presentation, and we're going to lease agreement with that tenant is Morris County. I mean, it's something missing somewhere.
Understood.
So when I rent my apartment, I interview my tenant, not his representative, not even, if it's a legal representative, I have to sit down to listen to them. But you're not even.
Councilman.
But why waste my time to listen to something nothing to do with the Morris County Park Commissioner?
Let's take it down.
Councilman Young?
Yeah.
Mayor Soriano.
If I may.
Yes, go ahead. So
Quite frankly, this started from Parsippany. Parsippany, people of Parsippany and the Parsippany-Troy Hills Police Department recruited the Morris County Parks Commission for this. So if you would like us to start with C instead of going to A and B, that's fine, but then I guess we would just have to leave. But I mean, let's listen to what we have to say, and at another time, you want us to bring the Morris County Parks Commission here, we will do that for you, sir. Now, I see you're very concerned, and I understand that, and I see that you're even a little agitated about this. I get that, but we're here to answer your questions. So, you know, if you want to hear from someone else, that's fine, we can arrange that. But, sir, I went through considerable lengths to be here tonight to present to you and to speak with you. I highly recommend you make use of us right now, and Councilman Young, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have.
Sure.
Thank you.
Terrence, I just want to ask you something.
Sure.
What involvement do you have with the New York State Watershed Commission with the Cannonsville Reservoir and the Pepacton Reservoir?
The only involvement we have is we work very closely with the Department of Environmental Conservation to add lands to their, like the Sundown Wild Forest and the Delaware. So we buy land, we protect it, and then we transfer it to the state agencies. We don't have a direct involvement with DEP in New York.
You know, what worries me about this is the housing around here. Upstate New York City is buying all the land around the reservoir. You put your house up for sale, New York City comes in, they're paying top dollar, buying up everything.
Right.
What did we do? This prior administration, 15 years ago or something, sold off so much of that land around the reservoir, and it's a shame.
Yeah.
That's our drinking water.
I'm going to ask, why don't we let them do their presentation, complete their presentation, if there are questions or comments, as we normally do, let's just have that.
Yeah, we'll make this quick. This is a baseline of information, and then there'll be opportunity for questions. Let's see if this thing...
Yeah, but we're going to have to be answered by the right person.
So, who are we? I said already, we're a nonprofit. We protect water. We protect land. We build trails. We work up and down the East Coast. We've done a huge amount of work in the Delaware watershed. This is a map showing how we rank tributaries that flow into it. We've got a history of working on drinking water protection in particular. The proposal that's in front of you is essentially three things. It's to use best practices to address water quality in the reservoir in connection with a walking trail, really a nature trail, to improve security around the site, which is why we're really happy to have Chief Andrew Miller here. And then lastly, to Councilman Baggiano's point, to do a land protection effort around the reservoir, see what's left to buy, but also the source, the headwaters further up. We're going to work with a certified ecologist. We've been working with him, Blaine Rothhauser. We're working with we want to work with the Environmental Commission. We had a chance to present to them, the Office of Emergency Management, the Jersey City MUA, and we want to basically develop over the course of the next, hopefully sooner, but within 2 years, a property management plan that we would bring back to this council for approval prior to doing anything. So the idea is that the land management plan would deal with security. We would first assess security, assess water quality, come up with a plan for the management of the trail, work with the city agencies on that, and then bring it back to this council, and only with this council's permission and approval would we then go forward. And that we presented, Blaine and I and Eve, on the 4th of September. We had a great presentation. I compliment the Environmental Commission, a lot of professionals with great backgrounds, and we're committed to working with them to develop a plan. What are some other examples? This is your reservoir up in the Farney Highlands in Morris County, Split Rock, where there's a hiking trail that currently exists. In that case, there's a proposal that allows for non-motorized boats, kayaking, so that's Split Rock Reservoir. Other examples in New Jersey of these kinds of things, walking trail in Rick Township on a reservoir that's used for drinking water. And then, of course, this is one of many in the New York City watershed, the New Croton Reservoir, which is about 20 miles north of New York City. Another example, in that case, fishing is allowed and also hiking. We included in your packets a breakdown of all the New York City watershed lands and what kinds of public access are allowed there, so you get a feel for how they do it. But more on this, the idea is to put an unpaved walking trail around the reservoir, to do it in 2 phases. The first phase would be on the existing trail that's there. Boating, fishing, swimming, dogs, none of that would be permitted. Here's a preliminary design of what the trail might look like. That first phase would be in yellow. That's the portion of the trail, as I mentioned, that already exists. The proposal would be to fence off the dam area, and we would essentially see how it goes. Again, this is in the future after a land management plan has been developed. You can see the emergency access. 287 is to the, well, this is kind of slanted, but that's really to the top. 46 is right to the south, and that's where the nearest emergency access point would be for first responders. That's a shot of the reservoir trail as it currently exists. It's used by the company that manages it for access to the reservoir, essentially gets it around 3/4 of the way. But that gives you a sense of the trail as it currently exists. There's a shot of the reservoir. There are lookouts along the way. I want to turn this portion of our presentation over to our ecologist, Blaine Rothhauser, who would talk about how the design of the trail would be incorporated in protecting the water as it flows in.
So I'm also a wetland scientist and a conservation biologist, and I've lived in this area my whole life, so I have a highly evolved sense of this site, not only because I've lived here and have interfaced with this site as a kid, but also because I had 18 days of ecological work that I did as a preliminary assessment. So I'm going to tell you real quick what the current state of this is from an ecologist standpoint, because it's very important as you, the landlord of this site, to know its current condition, because its current condition ecologically dictates its water quality. Without the ecology working at its highest functional value, the water quality will continue to go down, because currently the site is 8 acres, including the reservoir itself, but two of the 8 acres. 800 acres, 600 of which are the reservoir, and less than 200 are the buffer area around it. That's very important from a water quality standpoint because it doesn't have much buffer. As you pointed out, you've lost buffer over time. That is the trail design. Those are stops that I took a lot of information from those points. As Terrence just showed you, this is the West Side Trail. Notice how big it is. We're going to address that in best management practices. If you go with this design, we're going to do things that are going to enhance those trails so that they capture non-point source pollution that is getting into your drinking water. There's water, the main source of water is the Rockaway River. That's what's feeding your drinking supply. That is, and I wish I had a pointer, but to the northwest you see the biggest inlet with the line perpendicular to the center line. That's actually the Rockaway River. So everything that's happening upstream in open space is your filter that helps the water quality of this system as well as the buffer area itself. There are a number of streams and rivulets and wetlands that also add some filtering capacity to this hydraulic system. I talk of it in terms of that because it's a drinking water supply. Here's a wetland. The biggest wetland is near 287, but I point to the fact that there's no understory. You have a deer problem here, even though you have a fence. That fence is broached in many areas. It's not secure. I know he will, and I'm sorry, your first name? Andy's going to talk to you about that, but I could...
His first name is Chief.
Oh, Chief, yes, Chief. So the Chief will definitely speak to this, but I can tell you being out there, there's very many areas that can be broached at this time. They try to correct them when they see them, but people continue to utilize the site through the fence areas. I point to the fact that there's no understory because you're losing vegetative cover. Vegetative cover is your filter. By designing a future trail, those can be corrected. We have, some people might say, is there any special critters that utilize this site? That would be my thought if I'm looking at a reservoir. And the answer is not too many, none that are protected with any extraordinary regulation. There are sightings of bald eagles, but no nesting areas have occurred yet. I believe that if we work on this system and you allow the stakeholders to do all the heavy lifting and Terrence will talk to you about this, at virtually no cost as the stakeholders get involved. They're going to do the heavy lifting for you, and these types of things have the potential of getting back. So that brings us to quick next steps. Terrence and Open Space Institute want to continue to hire GZA, that's the firm I work for, to do hydrologic studies to understand the hydraulics of this buffered area so that when we design in the future this trail, we can address those areas of concern that are not stopping non-point source pollution coming off from development, sheet flowing in, and with the design of the trail. We want to make sure it's at the uppermost end of the spectrum when it comes to protective measures. And then, of course, the rare species will come back, and you'll have a system that you can bring future generations of Jersey City children and parents to understand where their drinking water comes from and what you're doing to keep this protective well into the future. You need a number of permits. That was the other part of my job, was to identify New Jersey land use permits, which there are a number that need to be had before you can go ahead with this trail. So best management designs include all these elements, which I won't bore you with, but there is one of the most important things is the takeaway of this is this slide. So I ask you, thank you for bearing with me, and I ask you to just pay strict attention to what I believe the benefits are to the residents of Jersey City, because there's many. And I think it's something to really put at the forefront. You're going to start a platform to maintain and increase the natural process responsible for high water quality. Everyone in this room should be concerned about that for themselves and for their children. This system is deteriorating on an annual basis because of deer, because of lack of invasive species intrusion. All of that has weakened the buffer area around Jersey City. From an ecologist standpoint, on a compendium of 1 to 10, this site's a 2, basically because of deer density and invasive species and erosion areas around the resource. So this would start the opportunity of working on correcting those things. A constant and steady source of protective vigilance will occur once you allow the residents to utilize this resource. You're going to have many eyes on the system, and many eyes will work with the chief here, and you'll have a better control of security measures and also potential recruits to restore this beautiful resource. It's a starting point for ecological and biologic restoration. If you do nothing, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that nothing will get done at the reservoir. And finally, keep in mind, it's only 33 miles away. It's about 45 minutes as the crow flies. Everyone in the room will have a potential place to bring their kids and say, hey, this is where we get our drinking water from. And this is what we've done as a civic group to make sure into the future our resource is going to be available for everybody to enjoy and hopefully drink a clean glass of water. And I thank you for your time.
I got to ask you something. Terrence, I'll ask you. I spoke to the chief before, and I'm listening to you. That's our reservoir. Where is Suez? What the heck are they doing?
Well, I'm going to let Keith answer that. I could answer that, but I think Keith is more equipped to answer the Suez question. So, Keith?
Well, I mean, Terrence, I can't answer that question. Yeah. You're mentioning me. I mean, that's a matter of the relationship between the city and that entity. I mean, they've been, they've allowed site visits. I think they've been cooperative, but I can't speak to that.
Be cooperative. We should throw them the heck out. After listening to about the dirt and the filth up there and what's going on, the containers from
it's a valid
storage
point.
containers.
Can I make a point about the land acquisition, which I think
Can we finish this presentation first?
Okay. I want to hit the security piece, but before I do that, I just want to point out that's your watershed right there. That map, if you have the slides, you can see everything in light and dark green is protected. Everything in light green is in the Highlands Preservation Area, which is that regulatory overlay, very hard to develop. Everything in yellow is really threatened. You can see the red where the development is. What we want to do is a study to look at the ownership of land along the Rockaway River, along the tributaries that flow into the reservoir, and also do a study of raw land around the reservoir, whatever's left to buy. And we'll use funding from Green Acres, Philanthropy, Morris County. None of this would be at Jersey City's expense to go after and target the acquisition and preservation of those properties. So I don't want to lose that this has got two aspects of water quality. One is the best management practices on design of the trail and the things that can get done there. And then two, we as an organization want to take a bigger look and see what can we protect in the watershed that will contribute to water quality. And I'm going to finish now with security. Here's the picture tells a story. It's not the best situation at this moment in time. I'll let Chief see what else I got there. So you can cruise through. There's references to security, and I'll let you speak, Chief.
I can quickly present that I've been an officer in Parsippany almost 27 years, and for the first time back in May, I went onto that actual property with OSI and Mayor Soriano, and we walked about almost the entire length of the east side where there's a lot of woodland area, and I was shocked to see this. The fence, the litter, there were a lot of barbecue, propane tanks. For 20, 30, or maybe even more years, the reputation of this property with the Parsippany residents is that it's been an unknown. Kids go in there, adults go in there, fishing. Most of the use is unlawful but benign, not criminal necessarily, but a tremendous amount of litter. We have never, as a police department, or the Morris County Park Police, or the Morris County Sheriff's Department, or New Jersey State Police, because it's adjacent to the highway, have been able to get in to that property. Residents, from what I am told, as long as I've been there, Chief, now only 7 months, residents don't even bother to call anymore when they see kids going in there with alcohol, which we saw a lot of, people going there in there to fish. It almost looks like people might be camping, maybe overnight in there, maybe to fish early morning, I don't know. But that's the point, I don't know. No law enforcement in Morris County or in our adjacent area know what's going on in there. But you can see the fence, it's very easy to get in there. There are numerous blogs, if you Google them, reservoir, conversations about fishing in there, the types of fish. So everybody's comfortable going in there, other than the police, to go in there and check it. My police department, we have 105 regular officers, including 6 special officers. Morris County Park Police, 35 officers. Between Parsippany and Morris County Park Police, we would patrol this if it were opened up. We do not have access. We have vehicles, off-road vehicles, ATVs. Park Police have horses. We have bikes. We would have no problem getting in there and providing security. Really, I think it would displace the litter, because if it continues like this, it's just going to get worse. I listened for the first time on the science end of it, and it does make a lot of sense. So as a police chief, I can provide security, primary police security. Morris County Park Police, I can speak for the chief, DiPietro. Absolutely, they can provide primary patrol, and we can alternate the randomness of it. It's something that we can handle.
If I could, Mayor, do you want to add anything to that, or anything else with respect to?
Any questions before I speak for the chief? I know you got one, Councilman. Come on, young.
You know what? After I hear that your presentation, now my questioning to JCMUA, what the heck the United World, all these, what they done, and today Suez, what I done to improve the water quality and the security of the reservoir. They don't do nothing. You guys say all those you should bring up the table now. Thank you for that effort. Now they have to provide this one before we talk about to create any trial in that area.
So
and not only that, we go back to first.
Yeah.
As I said, very simple word. City of Jersey, we own the Buntun region. We are the landlord. Okay, we're gonna try to rent the space to 40 years to Morris County Park Commissioner. I'm going to repeat one more. I'm not feel comfortable here the presentation or the OSI, something is nothing, no relationship with the Morris County Park Commission. And you talk about concept plan, you talk about property management. I say, wait a minute. You got nothing to do with the Morris County Park Commissioner, but we're going to make a lease agreement with Morris County Park Commissioner. They are the ones to show up this room. They should make a present the concept plan and the property management plan. You know what I'm saying? Not only that, plan is just plan, but they gotta tell us that if we get the lease of 40 years, where the money gonna come from, open space, green acre, whatever the money, they gotta all present all those things. So we don't wanna give to 40 years lease agreement with them without any detailed, itemized, some kind of property management plan and concept plan whatsoever, you know what I'm saying? So now another issue is there, when I see that the list of whatever you make a presentation orally, we not that much take, I can tell you true. We only goes by what a lease agreement. So City of Jersey gonna be revoke the license, the lease agreement, if water quality decrease. End of the day, I'm gonna ask that, if water quality decrease, then who's going to pay for the increased water quality in the future? 30 years later.
I will tell you who.
Yes.
If the water quality decreases, you know who's going to pay for it? Who? My daughter. Because in Lake Hiawatha section of Parsippany, we buy about 10 million gallons of the Jersey City Reservoir water monthly. My daughter drinks that water. My daughter bathes in that water. I have skin in the game. Yes. And you have a security issue, and you say you're the landlord. Well, quite frankly, you've been an absentee landlord for quite some time.
Thank you very much.
And I want to help you. You could let me help you, or you could tell me no. That's fine.
No,
I want to help you. And not only that, I want you to understand something about my administration and when we came in this year. Number one, Parsippany was not a member of the Highlands Act in Parsippany, in the Highlands area. We were, the previous administration, for whatever reasons, withdrew us from there. Developers preferred that we weren't part of it. Water quality is very important to me, and not just for my kid, for my wife, but potable water is something we should be concerned about for everyone. So don't think that for a moment I'm not concerned about you and your citizens here in Jersey City. You're my brothers and my sisters. I have to be concerned about that. But now I go in there and I go take a hike there, which was wonderful because I'm an Eagle Scout. I love hiking. And I see the erosion that's there. I see the refuse that's there. I see ripped open fences. We're talking with a resident there. We're asking, do people breach this perimeter? She's, yeah, every day. They just come in. They drive from all over to come in. And this has been, this is a serious issue. Now, I see something that's wrong. I want to fix it.
Okay, the mayor, thank you for your appreciation.
Thank you, Councilman.
But you can orally say that, but as we know that Sipon is a small town, when you have 1,300 acres of land or water, if damage that, even though you put all your budget to put in the fix the problem, you're not able to. Not only that, we are the water supply to your town. You can change your band, the suppliers.
You're not the only water supply, you're part of it.
Yes. You can change your water supply company from the Jersey City reservoir to someplace else. So you say, if it's water quality, decrease quality, who's going to pay? My daughter's going to pay, my children's going to pay? No. If you change your water supply to your town to somebody else, instead of the Jersey water, someplace else, then your daughter doesn't have to pay.
Right.
But we, Jersey taxpayer, have to be paid. Okay? Because you are not the supplier. You just buy Jersey water from town, your town. You can change anytime you want.
Actually, it's not that easy. It's far more complicated than that.
Yes,
Mike.
But you can change to other town, other supplier. But unfortunately, if we see that the lease agreement, they didn't say who's going to pay for that. You see here?
Okay, so,
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Mr. Young, the presentation, or are we?
You know, here's this is the last slide. There's the four things that we're proposing. Do the hydrologic study, it's not in the reservoir. Do the hydrologic study, do the security assessment, do the property management plan. None of that a cost to Jersey City residents. All of that raised from Morris County and other sources. Bring that plan back to this council, and only if this council approves it, within 2 years, would we go forward. So at the very least, what you would have is the assessments that we would all do to tell you what you need to do out there. At the most, you'd have a partner in the mayor, in this town, in the county, in the Open Space Institute, and all the funders that we think we can bring to bear. Which is why we're involved. We think it's a win-win on a lot of levels. It's the reason why we got involved. So that really concludes our presentation. And I'll leave that slide up if there are other questions.
So the mayor, did you ever, mayor, did you ever read that this lease agreement? No, you don't. You are?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
Did you read the lease agreement? So this
lease agreement is proposed between Morris County Park Commission and the City of Jersey City.
See, that's what I'm saying. So we like to sit down with Morris County Park Commissioner. They should make a presentation. They should be.
Yeah, we will heard that.
Yeah, and also another question is that all the problems, we didn't know that we had that much problem with the Bloomington Reservoir. Now we find out, you guys put some time and effort. We now find out so much problem our reservoir, the security issue, water quality issue. So now, Council President, we should bring the next council meeting. Switch, United Water, JCMA, they should sit down over here. They have answered all the issues they bring up to the table today.
And have you here
If
too.
it's not, yeah, you can attend. If we not provide answer what we ask, those guys will bring up all the issue problem, then we should be revoked to sign on the country's Swiss, but now.
You got a valid point.
Yes. All right, so before we take any further to talk about the trail in the Bloomington Reservoir, 13 acre, before we do that, let's correct the problem what we have in the house.
So that's the council's decision. I just want to let you know, we're here to help in the way we proposed. If this doesn't work out in all events, we would likely fade back and still look at the land acquisition opportunities, because that's really the core of what we do. But to just underscore what we're saying here is, we're offering essentially a pathway for an assessment of security, property management plan, all of that, bring it back to you. And you have the ability at that point to say no. And that's further resources, time, and investment by everybody on this end.
Yes. Property management plan, concept plan, have to come up with Morris County Park Commissioner.
I understand.
We can bring these to.
Yes.
First, these are council.
Let me just say, so, but these folks have come to us and they've informed us on things that I guess that nobody knew about the security issues and the maintenance issues there and so forth, and deterioration of the property, and so we should be thankful, I think, that folks have brought this to our attention and have done this without any compensation from Jersey City, I'm assuming, in this regard.
When is the Corporation Council? When is we have to be renewed?
If I can just finish it. Yeah, an opportunity is being presented to be able to work together with the Morris County Park Commission, Parsippany, and the Open Space Institute. I mean, certainly the questions about Morris County bringing them in and having those specific questions addressed, I think are valid, and we can certainly have those members of representatives come here to address the questions about the specific lease agreement and the requirements around that that's being proposed here, right? Yeah.
25 years. We used to have people up at that reservoir stationed up there.
Yes.
And
I don't remember.
Yeah.
It was.
Come on, you told me your age this morning. We used to have people up there. And you go, I don't know which that's right, we had security up there. I don't know which administration 20 years ago was in power, but boy, they screwed up. And the more I hear about Suez, I have a couple of problems with people. Suez is the most arrogant organization I've ever seen.
And nationwide.
Yeah, and they were taken over, I believe, by Spain. New York State Electric and Gas is being taken over by Spain, and we're having problems with them in upstate New York. Same thing. And Chief, I'm glad you came down and spoke to me and told me what the heck's going on. We never gave this a thought down here.
So I have two questions. No, are you addressing?
No.
Okay. Two questions. One question, I'm familiar with the area because I worked in Parsippany for years, but I know that at one point we did open up, I guess, the reservoir to fishing or something like that, right? Or we tried to at least.
We did for 1 year.
Yeah, and there were some concerns from the community at that time about all of the activity, I guess, around the reservoir. Has there been any community meetings about the potential for turning this into a trail? Has there been any feedback from the residents around the reservoir?
Not yet official, Councilman, but, you know, input we've gotten from just small pocket groups right now, and everyone has been coming and asking about it. They're interested in it. They are very interested in it. You know, I wasn't really going to speak to the recreational opportunities because I know that's not everyone's main concern. It's safety and security, and I get that. I get that. But pretty soon, I would say in my next couple of town halls, this is going to dominate the conversation.
See, Council President.
So the other question is regards to the security. Now, how many officers did you say you guys have manpower?
I have 105 regular officers and 6 special officers in marked vehicles. They're armed. So that's 111, and then 35 park police uniformed on patrol. So it would.
Are you guys, you're planning on, if this goes forward, devoting a certain crew? Like, is there a special division that's going to be just for this reservoir? Because this is a large.
1,300 acres.
Not necessarily a division. Parsippany is divided into 5 patrol sections. The reservoir falls in 2 of the 5. So the officers that are assigned to those 2 sections would be assigned that property as well. If there were a special event going on at the reservoir, if it were open to the public, we would assign additional officers, as with the park police. So we already work with the Park Police. We have a Morris County Park Commission park in Parsippany, and it's smaller than the reservoir, but we perform the same function at that park that we would here. We would alternate patrol. We would both be a primary response to emergencies and that random patrol. And I just wanted to add, too, the security assessment would be conducted by Homeland Security. That New Jersey Homeland Security, Morris County, and one of my captains is actually a coordinator of OEM, Office of Emergency Management. So this would not just be, an ad hoc security. It would be an official report filed with ultimately Jersey City from Homeland Security.
Currently, our rescue and recovery unit does exercises with Suez in the Jersey City Reservoir for emergency situations. But once we open, once it's decided to open this up, I mean, we would need to orientate the ambulance squad and our EMS services and all our first responders there as well.
So, just sort of following up, the property management plan is presented. Is there a security component to that plan, or is that separate?
It would be, there would absolutely be a security component to that.
So one concern that I have is in the lease document, clause number 6, general patrol requirements, seems to sort of establish a standard, and I'm not a lawyer, thankfully, but establishes a standard. Sure. But establishes a standard that basically says that the park wouldn't get any extra patrolling. It would just simply be their standard. So I guess I'd like to kind of get some clarification around ensuring that if the security plan comes back, that I think I would certainly be looking for a robust plan in place that this sort of language doesn't preclude that from happening, or it's contradictory, and then 5 years from now we have some sort of conflict and services are reduced.
Understood, and I think that the level of detail that's already come up, and the Environmental Commission had questions about how do you enforce against dogs. Right. I mean, there's a whole list of things that you need to be comfortable with that would be addressed in a management plan, which is what we're saying is give us the blessing to move forward to develop that and bring it back for your approval.
Right. Okay, yeah, so I just want to make sure that the clause that is in the lease we would approve wouldn't
necessarily be sufficient from that point of view.
Well, it seems to be would be contradictory of the you laid out, which sounds reasonable. Let's come back and understand how we're going to really enforce these things. My layperson's reading of that clause suggests that sets a standard already in the document that we would be approving a month from now. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So we're approving a lower standard, and you may come back, but is that a legal document?
I'm not sure if the lease makes reference to the property management plan, but if it should, and if it doesn't, the property management plan would be controlling on those issues if it incorporates it.
I'm sure our law department can kind of help us.
Sure, I'm sure they can.
So another question that the Councilman James Solomon mentioned today, if it's a lease, page 6, items of 15, suspension of the access, if we see that if it's a water quality that discovers is like a declined water quality, and a certain reasonable time they have to correct the problem. If they're not correct the problem a certain period of time, City of Jersey as a landlord will have a right to terminate the lease. But now, when you terminate the lease, all the problem that they cause our shoulder, we have to correct the problem. And even though the mayor say that my daughter going to pay for that, but when they change the supplier, then still go to our shell. And when they terminate the lease, they walk away. We, people of Jersey taxpayer, carry the cost. Very simple.
So it's a fair point, and what I'm going through the lease, I believe there's multiple options to get out, to terminate. It's not the only basis.
It's not the permanent issue. Issue is that whoever caused a problem, short of this council, yes, doesn't matter what's the cost of they are responsible.
Right.
Even though they put for sale the whole town of Parsippany and they're going to pay for their cost problem, then it's a different story.
So what we're putting on the table is essentially a plan to improve what's flowing into that reservoir and to add security. And really, I think it's the council's choice decision. Do you want to proceed knowing that we would do these studies and come back to you with a plan, or not? And that's fine. I understand that you want to have further conversations. We've been at this now for some time, and as I said, we may fade back now to doing the work in the watershed. What we're offering is really something that we want to step up and do with you now, if you're ready. And if it's not something you feel you're ready, then okay. But we think this is a great opportunity, which is really the reason I've been coming.
Why don't you do it the other way around? We, actually, as the person who live in Jersey City, all the council members, we don't open the 13 acre to the public. We want to make sure how we can, Suez can improve the water quality and improve the security in this site. That's the number one issue.
It's a valid point, and I think you should incorporate that within the property management plan. I fully expect that the kinds of things you're going to want from Suez, you would have a platform to demand those, and they would be incorporated in that plan.
We would ask the Suez what kind of property management can they have, and also if they open some area, we want to know from them what kind of concept plan they have first.
Fair enough.
Before we talk with the outsiders, okay?
But the water is treated after it leaves the reservoir.
Yeah. That's correct.
So that's, big bonus.
I'll just add, we just had a, last meeting, the bond with the MUA, right? And had some recent discussions with them, and that some of that funding includes kind of enhancing security as well in the area. So like there were cameras, I think, and things like that as well, and incorporated as part of that. So go ahead. Yeah, we'll bring them in.
So we can move on. I'm going to be here all night. I'm not against the...
And also, can I ask...
Councilman Solomon?
Go ahead.
Sure. A couple of just quick questions. In the lease, when it says that there are a number of clauses that say, the length of the trail can be changed or the width trail with prior written approval from the lessor, is legally, like, how does the city, who's the lessor in that case? Who gives the authority from us, our side?
We're the lessee.
We're the lessee, okay. So we're leasing it out, okay.
And also...
Wait, we're
the lessee?
Aren't we the lessor? Are we the
lessor?
Yeah, sorry, we're the lessor. But so who would approve that? Who would the city would approve that? Would that go back to the council? Would it be the business administrator? Would it be the mayor? How does that?
Are you describing the plan itself, or in the event we decide we want to determine?
In the clause of the language, there's a number of different clauses that say X can happen, but with prior written approval from the lessor, and I'm trying to understand who would give that approval.
Imagine it come from the administration, or from the BA.
So it would be the BA who would be the...
As a representative of the city, I would imagine it would come from the BA's office.
And that plan goes to council to get approval the first time.
Right, the first time.
See it, and then I think it'll give us a better idea of what those changes could be before we decide.
And if you wanted to exercise the termination clause, could the governing body, the council exercise it, or only the administration?
It would go through council.
No, but so council would have the ability to exercise the clause.
Initiate the
To initiate and say, we want to terminate. Can you just confirm that legally in the language of the lease?
Yeah, usually I follow the purview of this administrator, we can talk about how to do that.
Okay.
I think the council could make a recommendation to the business administrator, but as the person who executes the contracts, the BA would be likely the one to decide who to actually do it.
Okay.
But I can verify that exactly.
That would probably be a challenge, probably.
Okay. And then how did we decide upon the $1 figure? In terms of, let's say in the best case scenario, we get some value in terms of water quality and security, but then there's, I think, a massive value to the residents nearby of a incredible open space, and we would pay millions of dollars. We do pay millions of dollars for access to open space. So how did that kind of $1 figure get decided as that's what we're going to sign this lease for?
Well, that's a question for the city. We are proposing to bring value in the form of dollars to investing in planting and trail maintenance, stewardship, security, all those things.
Right.
And I think that the value proposition is that this is a win-win for both sides.
Sure.
So there was not a consideration amount established for a rent payment as a result.
$1 standard consideration for a contract. It's just so there's legal consideration. Technically, all the upkeep and upgrades that we doing to the property would constitute consideration.
Sure. I guess if you're imagining a negotiation, let's say we get say someone gets $10 million of value and we get $1 million of value, and then the lease is for $1, well, both people are winning, but one person's winning a lot more than the other. So I'm just suggesting.
That's a value proposition the council has to decide on.
Okay, I just want to know what the conversation was around,
Yeah.
so I can understand that.
So, Council President? Yes.
Now, this is actually caucus meeting for the discuss with them matters. So tomorrow we have a council meeting. So instead we make this one actually introduce as first reading, and we should be do that withdraw this one, and we should sit down with the Swiss, you know what I'm saying, and the JCMUA, and they should be sit down with us, and we should discuss it before we introduce this bill to city council chambers. The tomorrow's meeting.
We can't withdraw it, this is the administration ordinance.
Yes.
It's often noted in the past, so.
So I try to be fair, you know what I'm saying, because unfortunately yesterday was a holiday, today's and tomorrow's council chamber meeting, and we didn't hear anything. Actually, some commissioner JCME complained about the issues that they didn't get any notice from this kind of things before they make a first presentation like a month ago. They didn't even know that, you know. So my strong recommendation, this is a serious issue. You know, we talk about 1,300 acres of land and the drinking water issue. So we gotta be fair, and we gotta find out when we give to 40 years lease, what is the benefit to city of Jersey City, not only city government itself, but also what is the benefit to people of Jersey City. You understand, right?
Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
And
so we try to be if it's a lease for 5 years or 3 years, it's a different story. And all the make a presentation, improve there, so on and so. But also we like to know what is the total cost of improvement and the way the money come from. Today's a lot of people say, oh, Green Acre Fund, Open Space Fund, keep saying it, but we like to see the numbers, you know.
yeah, and we're the kind of organization that you would sometimes bring in to get to the bottom of those answers, and really that's what we're proposing. And it's up to the council to decide if this 2-year time frame, hopefully sooner, that essentially gives us the go-ahead to satisfy the concerns you've raised is enough of a fail-safe on some of the other issues. I'm not sure that we're in a position to continue to consider it in terms of the other projects that we work on while you make this decision, which I know is very important.
And also, the business administrator, not only Swiss have to be attended, you know, but also Morris County Park Commission, they should be attended. We should discuss with their plan for proper management plan. If they improve, what kind of concept plan they have, they're all here. And the worst case, if we have some water quality, decreased water quality, then who's going to pay for how, you know, all kinds of stuff we should discuss. So it's not fair to people of Jersey City to make without knowing to prove their first wins tomorrow, you know what I'm saying? So why don't you strong recommendation withdraw? Let's split all the layout, discuss with that United Water Suisse, whatever JCMUA, you know what I'm saying? And the Morris County, and when you have the same page, then we can talk about it, you know what I'm saying? So now, your role.
Your request is noted.
I have, Terrence, your last statement, you essentially said something about, can you repeat that again? Just.
Well, a lot of the concerns that are being raised are totally understandable, and you'd want to know all this level of detail before you would open it up to the public. And we've now proposed a pathway to get those answers to you, and if you're not satisfied with that, you have the ability to essentially say no. So that's really the basis upon which we as an organization can help marshal the resources to give you those answers. If this is going to be kind of tabled, and I understand if you decide to do that for some period of time, I'm not sure we're going to be in a position to continually be able to deliver what you need when you need it. and I just want to say, I still want to work on your watershed, but I'm.
Table's maybe 30 days, or even less. There's another council meeting on the 25th, another caucus meeting in 2 weeks. So we're not talking about canceling it for 4 months,
It's up
5
to
months.
the BA to make that decision to table it. So I don't want to keep
So
going
what
and
is
say,
it?
what are you going to do if you're not, we need to move on and vote it or whatever.
Please, Mr. Administrator, what is your plan?
We're going to keep it on, and we'll have additional meetings with the
Morris County Parks Coalition.
Why don't we keep it on, we're going to introduce it, is it tomorrow? That's
Yes.
first reading?
Yeah.
First reading, and then you'll bring in Morris County Park Commission for the second reading.
Yeah.
Or before then, actually, so that would be better. If we could have just a side meeting.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
So you have more questions?
And my other question more to the BA and Keith, the status of, folks, the status of the Environmental Commission's support or where they stand on this, as well as any other stakeholders within Jersey City, the Parks Coalition, or other folks.
So we have, I listened to your concerns from the last meeting that you met with Terrence. We've engaged all the groups that you've asked, especially the EC. We spoke to Thomas Gibbons from the MUA, and we also talked to the Sustainable JC. We've had our meetings in here. We've discussed it. We've got positive reviews back, and they were sent over to your office. And then I talked to Deborah yesterday, and she's definitely okay with the plan. And
So the Environmental Commission is
Sent over to my office, is that letter of support or?
Support, yeah.
And the Environmental Commission is voting, my understanding, the Environmental Commission is voting, or having another meeting, they did not vote, right, correct?
That's correct.
And they are going to vote at their next meeting? Okay.
Okay, Keith.
I can hear.
But we
So the
gotta
Environmental Commission is going to vote at their next meeting?
You know, so when you make a presentation to all those organizations, maybe you try to tell them what they like to hear. Do those organizations read that country lease agreement? Tell me, yes or no?
We talked about science. So it was science.
So that's what we based everything off of, Councilman.
What they say by and what they put on writing, two different stories, okay?
There's a science. That's where they're in the commission, and that's what we talked about that time. Is it a good idea via science? Yes.
Keith, did you meet with the MUA or the?
We met with, what's that? Yeah.
You did? And they know about the horror show that's up there?
This is a sign.
I've been to the reservoir with Tom, so they're hopefully.
What?
What was it?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, it seems like the council wants to bring them back to a subsequent council meeting, but I've personally been to the reservoir with Tom Gibbons, among others, so, they should know.
Question, remind me, Terrence, how did Open Space start working on this project?
So we've been in touch with both the Parsippany as well as the Park Commission. And I personally have a background in doing a lot of the land transactions deals to protect the watershed. So I've been aware of it.
So was the mayor who asked you to get involved?
The mayor has been one of the people who reached out to me to get involved,
And
yes.
Mayor, when did you sort of bring it up to Jersey City and how did those conversations start?
Well, it initially started at the Women's March in Morristown this year, and someone said that the Open Space Institute was working on opening it up, and one of my council members who helped me get a majority there, thank God, she brought it up on the campaign trail to me that she thought this would be a good idea, and I was like, okay, that sounds like a heavy lift, and then when I heard there was something called the Open Space Institute, that's when we connected.
Okay, and when did you connect with Jersey City about this?
I think after I met you, that's when we started contacting Mayor or before.
It was presented to the EC in March 20th.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure the question. When
you guys make contact with Jersey City to discuss this?
Oh, well, as the mayor mentioned, because he had heard about it at that march, and he reached out to me after that. But, we had also been requested by Morris County Park Commission to be involved in looking at it as well.
Okay.
And we've been sharing materials with the Environmental Commission since, I think you said March, right? Jersey City, but otherwise been in touch with the administration to let them know we were developing those materials. So I will say that the Environmental Commission meeting was quite rigorous from a science perspective. I think Blaine would attest to that. So I know that if you're looking for their endorsement, that as a cornerstone for this plan, that those people seem more than up to the task.
He's looking to find out how soon we can connect with the mayor, the administration.
Oh, so I think that the, now 12, how long?
February or January?
Yeah.
Latest, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for this to have been taken seriously as an idea. I mean, this has been out there for 20 years, as I think we've submitted a June 2001 master plan. But I think that we had the first serious discussions back then.
Back in January.
January, yeah.
But from the administrator's perspective, I think, so we're 8, 9 months from that point, and I think the things of value to Jersey City, which would be an increased water quality, increased security, are still, how to phrase it, in their infancy in formation, which is why we're proposing a 2-year plan. And why is it that the administration felt the need to move forward with it now before kind of fleshing out those two?
Well, we wanted to have an official agreement with this group to start the plan. As you guys all know, the planning processes take many, many months. So, before they're going to do any work and spend any money on this, we need to have some kind of agreement in place.
Okay. Oh, last thing, looking to schedule a tour. Maybe we can work that with Terrence and
absolutely.
Anyone else?
More than happy to.
Yeah?
More than happy to.
We can do that before the meeting, and Robert, we probably have to sunshine it, I guess. We've got 9 council people, no?
Seriously?
I don't know. Okay, then we know.
So, get a recreation van and take you. So, Council President?
Bring hiking shoes.
Council President,
Yes.
when are we going to call it the Suez and the J. Shanway and this county?
We'll call them up immediately tomorrow morning, first thing, and make plans to meet with them prior to the council meeting.
Look, my eyes were open tonight speaking to you, Chief. And I've heard from other people about what's going on up there. And I think it should be pulled, and we do it next month. And let's walk to the reservoir, let's see the conditions ourselves, and then if everything works out, fine.
If there was security issue and the water quality issue have a danger, then we gotta find out who's responsible, what they done by Suez for that. Because when we give the contract with Suez water management, they're part of their contract is that they suppose the property management plan is their hand. They're supposed to do that. But while we have to be, some other people have to do it because we pay for them, Suez or United Water over the years. So we gotta make it clear, we pay for that, security issue, water quality issue, but we didn't get the one we paid for.
Mike, there's no security up there.
See, that's what I'm saying, then we paid for that already.
Just have to come here, 'cause he's right.
I mean, what's the matter with them? Just common sense.
We're gonna have them come here, okay? Let's,
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much. I welcome all of you to Parsippany, and
Thank
by
you.
the way, Councilman,
It's very
we're
gracious of
actually
you.
we're actually larger than you. We're 26 square miles. You're only 21. You have 200,000 more people. But mind you, if you do come to Parsippany, I'm asking one favor of you, Councilman. Please shave your head, because I can't compare with that. I can't compete with that. That's amazing what you have going on. But seriously, thank you very much, and thank you to the BA for letting me have his chair. Okay? I appreciate it. Thank you.
Parsippany also has a wall. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right off 280. You're not a real civilized community. It's just a wall.
yes. And if you can find my glasses in my office somewhere, I don't know. That was an hour? Yeah, thanks. Because he's got to go, a couple of other items there, yeah.
I have more than just that one.
Yeah, he had a couple more items.
No.
Okay, we lost. We lost everybody. Diana, did you still have something? What's that?
Very simply to Council President,
doesn't have to stay for that.
Three changing the address on pre-existing.
Make Gene wait all night. He's getting paid by the hour.
It was a clerical, it's a scrivener's error, for lack of a better term, but it requires.
He gets paid by the hour. Bottom, put him on the bottom. He drove Ada mad as the secretary.
They are the ones. We pay for their storage for security and the water quality protection. They went home.
Look, Hendrick, can you help me out? Can you just tell Marlene, can you tell Marlene to round them all up? And let's keep moving.
No, she went this way, that way?
She went that way.
How are things?
You told me you were bringing the mayor of Parsippany.
He was on the sheet.
No, in the sheet, but I mean before the sheet.
Oh,
Before today,
yeah.
somebody should have let me know that the mayor's or
Yeah, sorry about
and
that.
the chief
I was
of
on a,
police.
I was in Houston Airport for many hours.
Yeah.
My flight was like 4 hours delayed. It was terrible.
I thought it was gonna be Terrence, and like that's
Yeah,
it. And like,
It's fine.
Otherwise-
He was great. He was great.
Yeah,
He was
just-
a real deal.
I don't like to put off other electeds and like
Yeah. I got
that
you.
long and like and then to have them get assaulted by like that was I almost flipped. I almost lost it myself.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull the medical center thing. We got to make changes anyway. If I could just.
There's nothing there, you know that, right?
Yeah, I know. But I'm gonna pull that one. Yeah, I'll announce. If you want me to announce it here, I can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have enough to keep going. Let's get, folks. Councilman Yun, we're gonna keep going. Everyone, if you could, we're gonna keep this meeting going. Where's
Slow back. Let's go.
Gene?
Oh, that's one way to get it back, with Gene Paolino.
Gene has an administrative amendment to a tax abatement, right?
Yes,
That's what it really is. It's
It's actually a miscommunication.
Yeah.
There's no change in the numbers, there's no change.
It's an ordinance correcting ordinance 16088, which approved the 10-year tax exemption for a mixed-use market rate condominium project constructed by 380 Newark Avenue Urban Renewal LLC on the property designated on block 9806 lot 8 on the city's tax map and more commonly known by the street address of 380 Newark Avenue, and correcting the financial agreement authorized by ordinance 16088.
And what's the correction?
Correction is the description of the condominium units. There's actually 2 commercial rather than 1. It doesn't change the numbers. Instead of having 1 large one, you have 2 small ones. And that's...
You get that? That's correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions on it?
See, just a simple question.
Okay.
Jane is actually one of the famous lawyer in Jersey City. So can we explain to me how they calculate annual gross revenue for condominium units?
That's a good question.
So can you give us some formula how you calculate annual service charge when you have a condominium? Yeah, can you give me some email to all the council members?
I can.
Yes, can you provide an email to Margaret, Marlene?
Yeah.
Okay.
She'll disseminate it to the council.
Yeah, rental market, but condominium, we always questioning, so can't you give us some formula how they calculate it?
Absolutely.
But because
Tax abatement?
It just started.
We approved it in 2016.
No, that's when it was passed, then it had to be built.
Yeah.
So it's
In other
probably...
words, they have 10 years to go on Newark Avenue.
Right.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you, Gene.
Thank you.
It's easier for Gene to divide by 3,
So please, okay?
No, it's complicated.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Marianne, tell her. Marianne. You're welcome. Marianne has 10S. S is in Sam. Looks like, which is a resolution authorizing contracts with various vendors for the delivery of substance abuse prevention and education programs for the Department of Health and Human Services to the Municipal Drug Alliance Program. Mary Ann, you want to take it away?
Good evening. So this is our annual allotment from the Governor's Council on Alcohol and Drug Use. This is our annual allocation, and this is to subcontract out with prevention providers in Jersey City. We were allotted the same exact amount last year. Pretty much the same contractors. No, the dollar amounts are almost exactly to the penny. Yes.
So all of these groups, they have certified drug alcohol counselors in their organizations, or?
They have, well, they will have a certificate, either drug and alcohol certification or social work, may not be. One of the things that's distinct and interesting, sort of, about the funding we get from the Governor's Council on Drug and Alcohol Use is actually, it's all for prevention. It's not for treatment. So here's an example. Hope House, right, is a homeless shelter downtown. They will have counselors there working with the women and families there to prevent the drug use, because obviously the homeless population is kind of susceptible to drug use. So this is all about prevention. It's not treatment, so it may not always be a drug counselor. So.
Team getting $40,000. What do they do?
The educational arts team has been around for as long as I can remember. Carmine Tabone runs that. They used to do a lot out by Camp Liberty. I'm sorry. So what we are funding currently is they do over 220 workshops in schools throughout Jersey City. And so what it is for their project, it's activities that are alternatives to the streets, alternatives to drug use, and they incorporate in art programming and drama programming a curriculum that talks about, you know, staying away from drugs and alcohol. Does that?
Denise, you had a second question.
The distribution of funds, how did you decide, like, which organization gets what?
So we took this over last year this had traditionally been contracted out. So last year was the first time the Department of Health and Human Services took this over. So we're doing it all in-house. And we stayed with almost all of the vendors that were providing services previously, with one exception. We actually stopped taking some funding from the department because we felt it was redundant, and we saw that we were not serving the homeless population. So we're hitting the homeless population in 3 different ways. One is through Covenant House, and they have very specific kind of activities and outreach to a certain population of teens. And Hope House, which is families, homeless families. And then the third is Haven, which is sort of a stopgap for kids. I'm sure many of you are aware of what Haven does. So that was the addition we did, because we saw we were not helping the homeless population with prevention, and we thought that was a very big. But we're happy with the contractors. NJCU, the PEP program, which is Peers Educating Peers, does tremendous work in outreach. They work directly with the counseling program at NJCU. They do hundreds of events throughout the year, and they promote it. Hudson Pride. So Hudson Pride, the LGBTQIAA community, is also at high risk for substance use. So a number of their activities, like they do a prom, okay, where all are welcome, but they will not have alcohol at it. So they do alternative stuff. They have counselors on staff. If you look at the, contract, pages 3, 4, and 5, just give you a very small blurb not to say I'm happy to answer your questions, but if you wanted to kind of look more in detail, that kind of, those are the 3 pages to look at, to see. So the only funding we take from the department is a portion of my salary that works towards it and my staffer, but outside of that, it's all going to community programs.
Any questions related to MS? No?
None? Okay. Your other item is 10Z7.
All right, 10Z7. Get to that page.
This is a resolution appointing members of the Jersey City Alliance to combat alcoholism and drug abuse, the Municipal Alliance Committee. So, not the grantees, but these members, and do you want to explain who they are?
Sure. So this is actually a reappointment. It's a 1-year term. We changed that, so we can look at it each year. Last year, we revamped the entire Alliance Committee to add more members at the guidance of the Governor's Council on Alcohol and Drug Use. They had a new coordinator in the state, and they had some guidance for us. So the membership is based on, it's field-based. I know Councilman Solomon had a question before the meeting, but one of the things that the Governor's Council suggested was that we have slot people in from the field, either the medical field or the prevention field. So what we did was we looked at our existing and robust partners like the medical center, like CarePoint. We asked both hospitals locally to provide someone who works in substance use prevention. They recommended that we have some members of law enforcement. So at the time we had Rudy Snelling was given to us by the police chief, and what's wonderful is Rudy is now working for the prosecutor, so he will remain on it, and the chief has provided us with a new police officer, so that's Anthony Goodman, sorry. And all of these other members, so for example, Ray Ruiz, he's the SAC coordinator for Jersey City Schools, so he's aware of drug programming throughout the schools. Sandra Horvat currently works with us from St. Peter's University, and she sends nurses to work with us as interns each year. Let's see, Joelle Torres is the senior coordinator and policy advisor for the alcohol and drug abuse prevention team for Jersey City Schools. Helen Castillo fills the role of she's actually a former grantee. PAFCOM did some work previously through the Alliance, so we needed a nonprofit community representative, so we asked her if she would remain on. Harry Melendez is the former. They were defunded, yes. So let's see. Harry Melendez, former director of Health and Human Services. Do you want me to go through the whole list? No. Okay, because you're all looking exhausted and I am too. So any questions that I can answer for you?
It's been a couple of years now, I guess. In part, I was involved with this before I was a councilman and as a grantee at one time, which is where Helen was once upon a time a grantee, and so full transparency around that. And so my involvement, so when you look at these different representations and who the members are, they represent, as Chicada suggested, something that's inside of a strategic prevention framework, which is an idea of an approach to substance abuse prevention that looks at various sectors of the community. And Marianne touched on many of them, from law enforcement and policing to the schools, to universities, to the public schools, hospitals, senior groups. The one missing right now, and and still need to make the appointments, is the youth sector. And so we've been trying to work with, what is it, the group, Jersey City Youth Court, or?
Jersey City Youth Court, I mean, I think one of our meetings happen during the daytime, because that works for a lot of our medical providers. So we might want to do some older students, college students, or those who can make it during the day, but, their voice is important. Clearly, and Lindsay Meyer Institute teens is another option. So.
Any questions? No? Okay.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
go on to Happy Boer is here. You've got 10B and 10C. 10B is a resolution authorizing the Jersey City Department of Health and Human Services to accept terms and conditions of the New Jersey Department of Health to license and inspect temporary food vendors operating at festivals and other special events held on Liberty State Park property and execute a letter of understanding.
This is a letter of understanding between the Jersey State Department of Health and the City of Jersey City, where in recognition of the good job that they consider that we do as far as enforcement with inspections and food safety, the state is authorizing us to conduct inspections on their behalf on state property at state-sponsored events in Liberty State Park. Whereas before they would send up state inspectors and they would collect a license fee, they're authorizing us to collect the license fee just like we do with any other festival or temporary event in the other parts of the city on state property, and that will go to pay for the inspections that we do. So we'll be licensing these events and we'll also be providing the inspection to make sure all the food is safe.
Council, any questions on 10B? Hearing none. 10C, it's a resolution authorizing the Jersey City Department of Health and Human Services to accept funds from the State of New Jersey Department of Health and Senior Services, Division of Family Health Services for administering the Childhood Lead Poisoning Prevention Program, CLPP.
This is a resolution authorizing the city to accept an $843,000 grant from the State Health Department again, which is going to help supplement our lead poisoning prevention program. As I've said before, recently at the beginning of the year, probably the middle of last year, the state lowered the action level for lead poisoning for kids. So because of that, there are more cases that are going to need to be addressed. So in order to help us cover those cases, they're providing us with these extra funds. But we need the council's approval to accept the money.
Questions on that? And you already have the staffing on this, or?
Yes, yes, and we're working on what we need to complete the staffing levels.
Do you have any hires to complete this grant?
We've just hired a phlebotomist, and I think we're still looking for a nurse and perhaps another inspector, another lead inspector. Okay, you're welcome.
Next is Brian Weller. Brian starts at 10Z4. I'm sorry, 10X. 10X. Want to read that?
Oh, 10X.
10X is a resolution ratifying an emergency award to Safeway Contracting Incorporated for the emergency roof replacement at Firehouse Engine 2. Go ahead, Brian.
Actually, with all due respect, I just want to say that I paid for this job, but it was actually an emergency that was declared by DPW director, and they handled and signed off on the actual roof repair, but I'm happy to say we haven't had any complaints, so it looks like it was a job well done.
So this was already done?
Yes, this is already done.
When was it complete?
It was complete back in May.
May?
Yes.
And what's the process of how that gets to us? So if it's an emergency,
well,
all reservations completed in May.
all I can say, you know, my office didn't put it together. I think in this situation, it comes from purchasing, yes.
Purchasing,
So it,
Truly indeed,
yes.
an emergency. The local public contracts law allows them to.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm kind of surprised about is the timeline. So if it's declared an emergency in April and the work is done in May, and now it's in
And
September,
it may not be inspected and approved for final payment.
Well, it was before they got paid, I can tell you that, but, sure.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay, your next item is 10Z4.
10Z4 would be a resolution authorizing an amendment to a contract with French and Perello Associates in connection with the electrical engineering, design, and construction administration services for Riverview Fisk Park improvements.
That's correct. We have to extend their contract because we're about to expire. And at the same time, I'm asking for some additional services to design a central fountain that the community group really wants. And we want to design it so that it's easy to be maintained by city personnel. Because as you all know, fountains are very expensive to operate and they can cause a lot of problems. And basically, once we get this back on track, I think we should be able to go out to bid this fall and get that project rolling.
Able to do groundbreaking?
Let's get the project all done and out to bid before we talk about that.
So, do you make any estimated total construction cost?
I have a budget that I have to stay within, so the budget is 1.5 million.
Well, seems like a lot easier, actually, I guess.
No, it's going to be about an 8 to 9 month project, but the sooner we can break ground and demo and get the trees out and everything this fall, winter, wrap everything up and hopefully open up by summer next year.
Not easy, I know.
I'll agree to that. I'll agree to that.
Okay.
Anything else, Brian?
10Z9.
That's a resolution authorizing a contract with WB Mason for the purchase, delivery, and installation of office furniture for the Department of Administration under the Middlesex Regional Educational Services Consortium.
This will almost finalize the furniture requirements for the new City Hall Annex. As you're all aware, there's a lot of people in there, and we're going to be more, my division's going to be more involved from this point forward. That's what I'd like to say. Because it's, there's just a lot of need, a lot of things got overlooked in the original layout and the design.
Okay? All right, thanks. Thank you, Brian.
Okay.
That was it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Andrew, you still here? Hey, he's got a bunch of stuff. So
Very willful.
Andrew has 3E and 3F to start. Two ordinances. One is the ordinance supplementing.
Is supplementing the traffic code, parking, standing, and stopping in Article 9, parking for the disabled. It's designating reserved parking spaces at various locations and removing spaces at 100, 102 Orion Avenue, 281 Seaview Avenue.
I can spare the room and kind of give a summary on what's happening. So this ordinance proposes 21 total new locations for handicap reserved parking spaces. 18 of those locations are new and 3 of them are relocations of people who were previously issued a reserved parking space but have moved within the city. All of the locations have been reviewed and approved by the Reserved Parking Committee. And then I'll also point this out because it's a recurring topic. Since the last ordinance that we passed for reserved parking, we've removed 37 parking spaces. We're proposing 18 new parking spaces, so since our last ordinance, that's a net reduction of 19 total spaces. Yes.
When is enough handicap stickers on a block? Because I do get complaints about certain blocks, and they just have so many handicap stickers. It's no limit. Am I correct? I mean,
Correct. That's not part of our decision-making criteria, but we can certainly, discuss amending the ordinance to include that.
right, because I know it's a certain block, and I go down the block myself, and it really is a lot. And I know that people have parking, and they say some people are using it, that shouldn't be using it, it's a big issue. So I just want to know, what can we do? Because I do hear people are complaining, and people who supposedly using it is not using it, and I just think maybe we could do a little more. That's it.
I think it's a good topic for the next council committee meeting. Yes,
Do you guys have like, maybe like inspectors within your department that check out or look at the handicap sign? For example, there's, we can't say, you don't qualify for a handicap spot because it's up to the doctor's decision. However, there are people that, for example, will, with handicap plates and a handicap parking, will hold up another parking or two, and then when that family member comes or a friend comes to park in the back.
That's very possible.
What?
That's epidemic.
Yes.
Say it again.
So my question is if there's like inspectors within their department to check out handicap, because we can't, we don't have the authority to say that you don't deserve a handicap because that's up to a doctor's decision to make. But there are, handicap, people that have handicap stickers and actual space that will park in another spot and, mess up two parking spots. And then when a family member comes or a friend comes, they'll save that, go back to the disabled parking spot, and then they'll have it. So if there's is there anywhere that we can, how can we, if we can, visit them?
Sure, so we're very familiar with that type of behavior. It's brought to our attention in a number of different ways. More recently, it's been kind of brought to our attention through the SeeClickFix website. So we have a process in place to address that. It involves our staff members physically going to the location a number of times and identifying where the vehicles, the vehicle that's designated for that space, if it is located on the block and parked outside of its space. And based on our observations, we will send a series of letters to the person who the space is designated to. And we certainly have removed spaces based on abuse of the privilege.
And one last question. So I see when patients submit those applications, and I see that a lot of the times that the handicapped people get their permits is based on, for example, congestive heart failure or arthritis, which is like the two main, But the parking space that's given to them is sometimes 4 blocks away. So if you have a cardiac issue or if you have arthritis problems, you shouldn't be parking 4 blocks away on a handicap. So how do we look at that as well?
Yeah, so when we're looking to actually cite these parking spaces, we certainly try to locate them directly in front of the house for any number of reasons that might not be possible. Whether parking is not allowed on that side of the street or there is a hydrant or there's some other kind of conflict there. The furthest away that I'm familiar with is maybe 1 or 2 houses away, maybe perhaps across the street. I'm not familiar with any locations that are that far away. But if that is the case, please bring that to my attention and we can certainly relocate it closer. Please.
Okay, Council, any other questions? Okay. Did you have other stuff? You did.
Yeah. 3F is an ordinance. I'm sorry.
Designating the intersections of North Street and Columbia Avenue, North Street and Liberty Avenue, and North Street and Terrace Avenue as an all-way stop intersection.
This ordinance designates those 3 intersections as always stop control. We feel it would create a safer condition after our review of the conditions against federal and state guidelines.
It's the booting.
I'm withdrawing that. Okay, so let's just keep moving on. We have 10K.
10K is a resolution supplementing the manual of loading zone designations. This is coming as a result of the expansion of the Newark Avenue pedestrian plaza. What this resolution does is it extends an existing loading zone on Barrow Street between Newark and Columbus Drive. It extends it from 30 feet in length to 60 feet in length. This resolution also proposes a new loading zone on Jersey Avenue between Newark Avenue and First Street, and again, that's just to accommodate the expansion of the pedestrian plaza. We do expect to continue in a sort of iterative process to review and modify the loading zones around the pedestrian plaza. This is sort of the first step that we're taking.
We have to understand that the east side of Barrow Street, if you do that at 60 foot and what time is it? 8 o'clock in the morning to 4 p.m., that's all day. Then people who have a business in those areas going to be suffering, because of parking. Because they tied up the whole blocks with that loading zone. I think, did you speak with that business community in that block?
Yes.
They don't mind?
They suggested it, actually.
They suggested?
Yeah. This came out of several discussions with the downtown state, with Councilman Solomon, to add some additional loading zones in the area. This was the spot that they suggested to us.
Who is the they?
The businesses.
The SID business.
Yeah.
I understand. The SID business say that here, but they directly get taught, that they get disadvantages of people who has in that block. Did you speak with them? That's my question.
The specific business owners?
Yes, because they're going to lose the whole parking space.
I don't recall all of the merchants that were in the room.
We defer to Sid to get the sentiment of the businesses in the area, so that's what we do.
You're a very innovative person, so the downtown SID, if the board member is controlled by a certain business community in a certain area, they don't mind, maybe can be. But as almost a 37 years of business person who has a street experience, if somebody build up the loading zone front of my building, my business, 60 foot long, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., whatever is time, and the Monday to Friday, and the Saturday, such a period of time, you know what happened? My customer have no place to park the car. So it's going to damage my business big time. So usually when you give to a loading zone, they do window like 2 hours. It's like 10 a.m. to 12 or 1 to 3. So my customers or my neighbors are able to park the car somewhere. I never see that they give to us like a whole window, whole day, almost whole block. It's a very dangerous idea. You know what I'm saying? So they should build up the window, not more than, any loading zone should be not more than 2-3 hours. Years ago, this is truly good to know, Andrew. If you come up Central Avenue like 20-some years ago, every block has a loading zone, if you know Councilman well. No, it was true. So when I be president of SID, I removed all the loading zones in Central Avenue except the 2 places. And we sent a letter to all the franchise and major company, bring up the 18-wheeler trailers. We tell them, you only can deliver merchandise Central Avenue before 7 o'clock in the morning or after 7 p.m. See, that's the way we control. So even as Central Avenue, there's so many businesses now, there's not much problem because that's the way we control the loading zone. But if you open loading zone, 8 o'clock in the morning till 4 p.m., Monday through Friday. Oh, Mary Kelly's there. She was at the 8 at the time. And also Saturday, so like the whole day you take over the parking in that block. If I'm the business person who owns the business in that block, I'm going to put your middle finger to your face right away.
So it's a little different here because...
So I just want to say that just to make sure, speak with the block, you know what I'm saying? If they don't mind, fine. But if we just listen to a certain group of people... Yeah, what do they say?
We had a meeting with the city, and the city has trailed it out to everybody in the list, and my understanding is their list is reasonably comprehensive. There are a few smaller businesses right on that stretch. You know, I know, I think the councilman's point about sort of the amount of time, I think is an interesting
Yes,
one.
time is a
You know, I don't know what you guys think, you know, Andrew, in terms of, you know, on a Saturday, do you want 8 to 2, or is it better to have, you know, 8 to 11, so, you know, that frees up the space, especially on a big shopping day? You know, I don't know what the sort of thinking is on that front.
One of the challenges in this spot is that most of that area is closed to traffic, so there's no parking anyway, and the loading has to be most of the time on the outsides of it. So opening the window to a little longer time allows more businesses that loading, instead of everyone doing it at once, you know, each business can come in and yeah, so it needs to be accessed by more people because, yeah, there's more parking on the west side of Barrow, and yeah, we've been discussing that, and we're still working through it. This is just kind of one of, as Andrew said, it's an iterative process, so this is just one of the pieces of it.
And maybe look at Christopher Columbus a little better, because I think that the guy from Barcade is going to have a bird.
This is on the east side.
The other side. Yeah.
So
and they're okay with this, but yeah, look, it's up to you.
I very much want to do a loading zone on Columbus, in part because I want it to be, I at least want us to have the pilot of using it for ride for hire vehicles, because if you're in that area, Uber and Lyft and those types, because if you're in that area, there's so much double parking and there's so much unsafe vehicles. They stop in the middle of a traffic lane and people are pushing. And so, you know, you know, their main times is going to be morning rush hour, afternoon rush hour, and then late night. So, you know, if we make that side of Columbus the loading zone, then I think we can adjust some of the Barrow things.
Yeah, so James, if I recommend as a business experience, I do this way. If you shorten the loading zone, maybe 30-foot loading zone, then longer hours. If it's the long length of the loading zone, then short hours. You're gonna have to be give some. I know that if nobody able to park the car in front of my business, I'm gonna know who is a traffic engineer and who is a business administrator and who is a councilman. So when you make like a 30 feet, then longer hours. When you the long, you know, the 60 feet of the loading zone, then short hours, short windows. You know what I'm saying? And once you do that, the delivery trucks and let me tell the truth. As a business person, merchandise delivery usually most things happen in the morning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you don't have to go till 4 p.m. You understand?
We'll defer to you on how you want to.
Let's talk tomorrow, and then we'll come back on how to adjust them.
We also should mention that we're doing a study of Columbus as well for a lot of things. So that's why we haven't put forth any legislation on it, just because there's a public meeting the 25th, is it, to discuss that. So we're going to wait for that piece of it.
Help get the pedestrian project. But because of benefit to pedestrians, it should be not jeopardize small business guy who understands, you know, we shouldn't be doing that. So, short hours with a 60 feet, while long hours is a short.
All right, so there's just 2 points that I want to address. So the loading zone that we're proposing on Barrow, we're just proposing to extend an existing loading zone. A loading zone that currently goes to 10 p.m. right now. That's the current condition. It's been the condition for probably 4 years now. All right, so that's what we're dealing with. But your point is well taken, and we can, you know, discuss it with Councilman Solomon.
The councilman, one thing that Andrew can understand.
Yep.
James, that's your district, you should wear that. When you go to Montgomery Street, Chinese restaurant, front of Chinese restaurant, loading zone. You know what they do? They use the loading zone to park their own car. I mean, come on. It's a Montgomery Street. What is the name of the Chinese restaurant? Front of Chinese restaurant? I don't know what it is. The loading zone. What Chinese restaurant need a loading zone? Hey, come on.
Chop suey.
I mean, really.
All right.
I mean, listen, so another
Closing here, let's come on.
So now, what they use for the loading zone, so they have private parking.
Okay.
They shouldn't be doing
Point
that.
noted, okay, sorry.
And the only other point that I would like to address is that I think the area, mobility around the pedestrian plaza is fundamentally different from mobility along Palisade Avenue or even Central Avenue. Newark Avenue, we've studied this street and this section of Newark Avenue extensively. Pedestrians outnumber vehicles 2 to 1. So the thought that these merchants depend on a handful of parking spaces there really is very little truth to that. They very much depend on, you know, walk-in business as opposed to someone driving their private vehicle and trying to find a parking space, which if you've tried to do that in Newark Avenue or near Newark Avenue and you've been successful, that's like winning a golden ticket. So I think all of that needs to be taken into consideration when we're talking about loading around the pedestrian plaza.
So recommend Mr. Kullo.
Okay.
Thank you.
So resolutions 10L through P are all street closings.
September 9th, we're closing Exchange Place for a memorial service, which already took place, right?
Yes, this is
M.
being done retroactively. M is a new event taking place on Old Bergen Road on a Sunday.
It was discussed at the agenda meeting, it's being done retroactively, and like, given where we are with things, like, no one wanted to say, don't approve it. It's like, not.
It's a repeat event, and
Yeah,
also
let it go through.
something happened with the paperwork before the August meeting, so it was
Yeah.
an administrative issue.
Okay.
10N, Robert, this should be withdrawn. 10N, there's a new date. We've submitted the resolution for the new date, which is October 20th. So this, correct.
Okay, so this is withdrawn.
Withdrawn.
10O is a new event. It's on the dead end of 9th Street, west of Brunswick Street, taking place on a Sunday. And 10P is for a repeat event, but it's a new location. Previously held at Exchange Place, now will be held in front of City Hall on Grove Street on a Sunday again. Moving on to 10Z2, which is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract for the purchase and delivery of variable message boards. Those are the boards that you might see on the side of the street that have messages saying new traffic pattern or things of that nature.
Do we have any currently?
Yes, the Office of Emergency Management has 7. 5 of them are working. This would be to purchase 3 more for our use, given, you know, they're extremely useful for us.
We often have to borrow from like the county or something else for this kind of thing.
Precisely.
But that expensive, $40,000.
That's for 3. 3 boards. We received 3 quotes and we're procuring it from the lowest of the 3 quotes. And then the last that I have is 10Z4. 10Z4.
Do they have any better quality? You know, the sign-wise, really, they have a lot of high-tech screens available today. You know, the quality of it, writing and letter sometimes hard to read. You know, do they have any better quality than what we're going to purchase?
I'm not familiar with any better quality. So 10Z24 is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Diamond Construction for the citywide speed hump program. We received 4 bids. We are awarding it to Diamond Construction, which was the lowest responsible bidder. Yes?
When you say correctly, means
Well, what it costs us, $100,000 to rip up the ones that, with the high humps?
The first phase, so yeah, there's been 3 programs, 2013, 2015, 2016. You know, we took our lumps with the 2013 program, but I think we've improved it with the, yes.
Couple of things I can add. First number one, people complain the speed hump length of speed instead of the curve to curve. You know what I'm saying? When you put your curve to curve, how to pop the car sometimes. You know what I'm saying? When you pop the car, the back tires go on the top, front tire go down. You know what I'm saying? So maybe they shrink the size of speed hump so they have space between curve and the speed hump, so people they can pop the car. And not only that, is if it's heavy raining, then the waters go flow that go to the sewer line. You know what I'm saying? So those kind of things have to be considered. And also, when you see that the, as I know, it's a 2016 when we just speed hump, it's a brand new speed hump costs around $5,000. You know, and when you put in the speed hump while they have a, what's it called, the street paving, around the cost of $3,000. But this one will count almost $10,000 each speed hump. Any reason it's so expensive now?
This one's $10,000?
Yeah.
No, it's roughly, it would be roughly the same cost as the previous ones, which range from $4,500 to $5,000 per speed hump.
But we're going to put you 86 speed hump. How many speed hump are you going to put in?
No, 86 locations.
Oh.
We basically we're basically doubling our output from the past 2 programs. So the previous 2 programs, we constructed roughly 90 speed humps each. That's individual speed humps. Okay. With this program, we have, you know, allocated enough to construct double that amount. So roughly 180 speed humps.
Okay, so now, do me a favor. One place actually missing, North Street between Central and Summit Avenue. Because if you see the North Street go down to Central Avenue, so now what happens, when the people get in the North Street from the Summit Avenue, they see the traffic light in the Central Avenue and the North Street, they zip. So that urgent, we should put you one up there, because you're able to do that, because we have a contingency like $140,000.
We'll need, if they go through the procedure and fill a petition out.
Okay, I'm going to make sure that, okay? Yeah.
Because that's what all the other residents have done, and it would not.
Okay.
I want to go home tonight.
So in terms
I want to go
of
home too.
prioritization, how many are on the wait list for this speed hump list?
So we currently have 161 locations that have been approved. So we think that we have enough funds for approximately 180.
180?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you have more
So this contract will take care of 180?
Yeah.
Correct.
If you have other locations, anyone on the council, we need the petitions filled out, we can add more, for sure.
Okay, then I won't
They
worry about it.
construction in October.
A month, roughly in a month.
And,
Good.
Andrew, it's very interesting. I have a visitor in my office today. The person has a heart condition. They want to know if the ambulance left the Jersey City Medical Center, come down Western Slope, how many there will be hit the speed hump. And they want to know what kind of a response time will be delayed because of speed hump.
We don't construct any speed humps on roads other than local roads. So all of our collector roads, arterial roads, do not have speed humps. It's only local roads. So if there would be an ambulance that has to go to that person's house, they would encounter the speed hump if it were to exist on their block, or, you know, 1 or 2 other local roads that they might have to take to get to that person's house.
Okay, so that is not an issue.
Correct.
And typically the ambulances are responding from that neighborhood. They pre-position them in the heights anyway.
All right. Thank you.
Can you send us the list of the speed hump locations?
Yeah, of course.
One more thing. So you, Council President suggested we talk about this at the council meeting. We can forego putting resolutions for street closures on the council agenda if the council wishes to lighten the load, so to speak. Every council person gets a notification of any street closures for events in an email. If you want to keep this off the agenda, which there's no legal reason for it. We just issue a regular traffic permit. But it's up to the council. We're just thinking of ways to lessen the weight of this a little bit.
Yeah, I'm all for that. As long as there's notification. Yeah.
Because
So-
I think it's what's helpful for the residents.
Just to confirm, every council person gets an email about the closure well in advance, sometimes well in advance of the council meeting even. And it's all on our street closing map, so.
There
Yeah,
would be,
we could do
is this ordinance change or no?
No change to any ordinance, we could just,
This all started when there was nothing on Christopher Columbus Drive, and they used to use the end of Christopher Columbus Drive for festivals, and it just started breaking the windows of the 100 Montgomery and Gregory Park buildings, and Ward E Council saying, I had no idea this was happening. So that's how it was born.
You know, I mean, I think it's helpful for us to know, but I think it's also helpful for our residents, so if it's not gonna be on the agenda, just to get that out there for them.
Sure.
Yeah.
so the email is okay then? Just any, okay. That's fine, that works. Let's do it. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Steve, you're up.
At least, right? Yeah.
We're up to 854, we only did 950.
Wow. Wow. Did we get over 1,000 in the last couple of years?
Steve has 10Y, 10Z, 10Z1.
Yeah.
YZZ1.
Steve, we could have got you up first if you had asked.
Steve,
We knew
I
that.
always put you at the end, Steve. You've always said you're staying here till the end anyway, so.
Hey, how would you buttonhole anybody after the meeting?
That's true.
10Y, Steve, is a resolution authorizing an open-end contract with Duncan Hardware for various plumbing supplies.
This is the first option to renew. We have 2 option renewals. This is the first one, so you approved this last year. And basically, the city spent $145,000 in 2017. The contract's $172,000, and it all depends on, you know, what activities come up that need supplies from Duncan Hardware.
What was the contract amount last year?
The contract amount is the same, $172,461.29. That doesn't change. The city spent about $145,000. We had $30,000 that would have been available for other stuff, yeah.
Which building has the most plumbing work they do now? So $145,000 plumbing part is a lot. You know, I'm always like questioning myself that 145 is not just few pieces of the, you know, pipe or a lot of, where did all those parts go really?
Well, we have over 30 different buildings, and lots of them are old.
If you just change a pipe today, you're not going to make a hole tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
They're gonna be putting a new vanity and sink in my office sometime soon.
That covers the first 100K.
So how long you waiting for? Robert, how long you waiting for?
The council.
20 years?
30.
30 years? I'm really interesting. Can you give us that?
I will see
Where the
if we can
most
come up
plumbing
with a
part is
list of
standing now?
the large numbers.
Yes. Which department and which location, which building?
Locations where
Right.
plumbing,
Of the large amounts.
Yeah.
supplies.
145,000, a lot of money, I'm telling you.
You can get the breakdown from Duncan.
Yes.
On their bills.
We're like interesting, you know?
Okay. We can do that.
All right, Z is our annual contract with the Lombardi Door Company, who does all the maintenance on all of our overhead doors in all of our buildings, like fire department, fire stations, and down at Public Works.
As the list is attached, this is the one that has to go out to public bid, and they're the only one that bids.
All right, C1. Renewal of an open-end contract with United Sales USA Corporation for the supply and delivery of custodial supplies. Custodial supplies.
Okay. Questions? No?
None? Thank you, Steve Miller. We have completed everyone, right? There's no one else here? We shall take it from the top.
Let's start fighting from the top.
Are you here for anything, or is he here for fun? Is Kavanaugh here for anything, or for fun?
I don't know.
Kavanaugh, are you here for a particular item? Bob?
Bob?
Just watch the show.
He's just watching the wheels go round and round.
This is the cheapest show in town.
All right, 3A we beat to death before for 59 minutes. So A through E on the first page have been taken care of. The only one on the printed agenda we haven't spoken about is, I'm told, being withdrawn.
3G is being withdrawn, correct.
Okay, 3G is being withdrawn. 3H is an ordinance I prepared pursuant to the, what I call lost summer of petitions. An ordinance repealing City Ordinance 18057, the Catine Forest Massacre Memorial. The ordinance I wrote is just the facts, and I will deliver to you per the court order of Mary Costello a certification that starts a 20-day clock ticking tomorrow for the repeal of this ordinance. If it's not repealed, the committee of the petitioners have 10 days to withdraw their petition. If not, we're going to have a special election.
And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, is there a 3I?
Yeah. There also is a resolution that was...
A resolution or ordinance?
Ordinance, pardon me, brought to me,
Yes.
which...
Where is it?
This is no... I'm reading the title right now.
It was in the packet.
It was in your packet.
Robert gave us an extra packet.
I didn't get an extra packet.
Okay, Councilman, just 1 minute. 3H, it's a lot of councilmen. People is missing the 3H because I think they dropped the mailbox. So
It's in the, here's an extra, Councilman, don't let your hair get brown.
That's what I'm saying, here. Okay, here you go. And boom.
Put it in the mailbox or is it out here?
There was a request, it was not to be delivered until today, but there was a call in my office, and apparently a couple people didn't get it. Did anyone?
Oh, you got it. You got it.
Yeah. Here's
Who
Caucus.
else have it?
All right,
Everyone have it?
3I, I
3H,
received this afternoon. It doesn't do what my ordinance does. It's an ordinance locating the Catine Forest Massacre Memorial at the eastern terminus of Exchange Place Plaza, rescinding, and that's the wrong word, Ordinance 18057 and MCC 299, and 3, authorizing the city to enter into an agreement with the Catine Forest Massacre Memorial Committee Incorporated regarding joint stewardship of the memorial.
Okay, so, and I think it's self-explanatory, right? One is just the repeal of the ordinance 18-057. The other one repeals...
That's what the whole point of the petition process was about.
Yes, and then the second ordinance is sponsored by Councilman Yun and Bogiano, and it repeals the same ordinance as well as MCC...
No, it says rescind, the word to be repealed.
Repeal. It repeals the ordinance.
The language is incorrect.
Okay, we'll correct the language on that. It repeals 18-057 and MCC-299, and then it also authorizes the city to enter into a agreement to place the monument at Exchange Place. Did I describe that correctly, Councilman Yun and Bogiano? Okay.
Yeah, it means leave it there, right? Yeah.
Leave it there. Yeah, that's what he's saying. Folks, comments, questions at this point, or Shall we just,
So for 3H, were we not to repeal the ordinance as a council, when would the special election be scheduled for?
We would be, there's a series of steps that, if you're, Robert, you have the floor.
As I indicated, if you fail within 20 days to repeal the ordinance, the committee of petitioners have 10 days to withdraw their petition, which seems unlikely, and then we'd have to schedule a special election. Had the judge not given us an extra month, I would have been prepared to give you at your August 15th meeting a certification, and we would have made the November election. We know that an election in Jersey City can cost over $200,000.
So when would it be held?
what's the date?
When would it be held? Probably sometime in December.
December, okay.
Yes.
It would be between 40 to 60
40 and
days.
60, no less than 40, no more than 60 days.
From the date of the final.
Right,
date
from the
for
date of
withdrawal.
adverse
Okay.
action.
So stack 10 days on top of.
30 days from today, or when do we receive the certified petition?
30 days from tomorrow.
30 days from tomorrow.
And then no sooner than 40 days and no later than 60 days.
Correct.
Okay. And you said $200,000, is that the sort of estimate of how much it costs to fund a special election?
Minimum.
Minimum, okay.
So just kind of some rough math there. So October 11th would be the date that, or October 12th would be the date that the clock would start, I mean, that then would calculate 40 to 60 days to the special election, depending on when it would be authorized at that point. And so 40 days would then be, what, 15?
Are you counting the 10 days they have to?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then it would be...
No
December
sooner
what?
than 40, no later than 60.
Would be the earliest or the latest?
Earliest, 40 from...
December what?
You can count that out. We're going to go to the
22nd.
59th or 60th day.
Yeah. And then
You've got
January.
to get ballots out to people in the military, things like that. This is an election like every election.
Yeah. So the earliest would be...
No election can happen in 40
to
days.
60 days would be December 22nd, somewhere thereabouts, to 20 days after that.
So that's January 11th approximately.
January 12th, yeah, somewhere around there.
So we don't have to worry about all those things. If city council adopts first and second reading for this ordinance, everything needs to go as usual, so be peace and quiet. We didn't spend any taxpayer dollars, the extra $300,000. And, there was that 30 years is there. They're gonna stay another 30, 40 years, whatever is there, so it's over.
What do you mean 30, 40 years?
No, I'm just saying. There was that almost 30 years is there. So another 30, 40 years, or 100
I'm
years.
just making sure that there's no timeline or perpetuity or anything in here.
I just heard today that we're not gonna have any more festivals down Exchange Place. I mean, is this to appease Matt Cali? The Emerald Society has one of the best parties down there. So does the Hispanic Society, and and I think it's a disgrace if we don't have festivals down at Exchange Place. And I don't know who created this. I just heard it this afternoon. And is that true, Brian? Well, I was told that today.
I mean, I think it is a I don't know if I can't speak to anything officially. I have personally noticed a number of festivals have been moved out of Exchange Place. So I think it's on my list to do over the winter is to set up a series of conversations, understand why that was done, and talk to cultural fairs and understand where we're going with that. So that's a separate. I think that's a separate issue. I don't want it to get us.
We discussed that before about that.
Yeah.
We discussed before about the events down there. Now, I know that the events was told because in April, which done passed, this is before all this happened, even with the monument, that they was going to reconstruct down there. So they was not encouraging no events to go down there. Now, after that, they said,
construction and improvements done.
the events
So
can
for
go
safety
back.
improvements,
Right.
mostly because of something that happened in New York City, because of the, something that happened there, and so certain safety precautions, and so there was efforts to relocate some of the events at that point. The last one that I remember that did get in there was the Indian colors.
Right.
Holy High. And so there was some dispute there as to whether or not they would get in. They did get in there at that point, but then the subsequent events after that were redirected, I guess. I'm not sure. And I think in part because of those presumed improvements that were going to happen. But then I think kind of this took over, and so those improvements haven't.
But there was also the 4th of July event that was held.
And there was the 4th of July,
This is months after the Holy Festival. So
Correct.
there certainly were events that were allowed to be there. But
Yeah.
it's a longer conversation.
Yeah.
So,
But that has, as Councilman Solomon noted, it's not necessarily this
Right.
to do with that,
But they said this last year, but that's why we have to talk about this, because, I mean, they said it was only because of that. Now, if they are deliberately steering people to have festivals elsewhere because they have a plan, then we really need to discuss it, because it shouldn't be. Because, to my understanding, all the events understood that after this year, they could go back.
So they need to do upgrades to the pier area
Yeah.
for safety concerns?
Right.
So then there was no conversation of the shifting it off of, onto the hardscape and onto Montgomery, as they've done in the past also? Going up Montgomery?
This was just temporary. That's what was told to us last year.
I think at the end of the day, this is still public, our property.
It
city
is,
property.
it's still public property, so how are you
Yeah.
gonna keep people from having?
Yeah.
So,
Correct me if I'm wrong.
not to like keep going on this point, because that's not what this is about, but how did we decide to move it behind Ferris?
So let me be real clear here with
I never
this.
knew how.
The Puerto Rican Day Parade Committee, for the past 2 years, the new administration, which was 2 years ago, they themselves decided to bring it back to Ferris, because that's where it used to be 15, 20 years ago. So, I just want to be clear that this discussion had no effect on the Puerto Rican Day Parade festivities that happened behind Ferris. Now, I don't know what else, you guys are talking about, but in terms of that, we have to be very clear. The road of the Puerto Rican Day festivities started at 18th Street many, like 30 years ago. Then it went from 18th Street to Brunswick Street to Montgomery Street to Grand Street, back to Montgomery Street, and now they just wanted it back on Christopher Columbus. So they decided, so now
So nobody
they
directed
have,
you guys to.
right, so but there's a new administration coming in now, and they may decide they want it back at Montgomery. So, just wanted to be clear that these 2 years that just passed by, that was up to that administration, if they wanted it at Christopher
Because I think
Columbus.
this year the Caribbean Festival ended up there too.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, we did a resolution or ordinance to have the house music festival there also.
Because they
So
were told.
it seems like that's the new spot. So I understand what Danny is saying, but it seems like that's where everything's going now.
The waterfront is the place to have the festivals. That waterfront belongs to everybody. And, it's the place, you got the view of New York, you have the Hudson River, and that belongs to the people of Jersey City.
I agree, and that belongs to the people of Jersey City.
That, I agree 100%.
Yes, so we need a plaza,
What's that?
the exchange place plaza, so people can have the major event, people of Jersey City. If we build up the park with grass, you cannot hold that, all those major, because none of the grass going to survive the place. Simple.
Oh, you have to see, Lincoln Park's about grass.
Yeah, they have the Filipino Day Festival
It's no different.
in the middle, no, it's not, Michael, it's in the middle of the grass. They don't, they can survive grass. Or you make allowances to move the food trucks off of the grass. There's all kind of ways you can do that when you're planning a festival. It's just a matter of planning and understanding how to utilize the space.
Did you see that they planned the park? But long story make short. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yes,
I do
okay.
a couple of them.
They go to great lengths to protect
All right.
the park, the process. But So any questions, comments?
No.
Hearing none?
Ordinance is H and I, very straightforward, everybody knows. You know. He wants to make sure.
Young has no questions.
Yeah. What, is it true?
H is the correct one.
I recommend you withdraw 3I. Just, you know.
No, it's a straightforward, it's very clear. It tells you what people are looking for.
Okay. So let's, second reading ordinances. Any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Very excited.
I want to go back to the most enjoyable one. Which one is that?
4J.
Yes, 4J. I want to ask a question of the law department on 4J, which is assuming 4J as amended passes at the council meeting on Wednesday.
It's not amended. It's only, it was.
Okay, so not as amended, as introduced, because we introduced it before, we amended before introduction. So as passed, are you aware of any legal reason why the salary increase would not take effect 20 days after the ordinance's passage?
The language indicates so.
Yeah,
Sorry?
I'm sorry.
The language indicates so, that ordinance will take effect in the manner prescribed by law, which is 20 days after the adoption.
So that is, I'm asking the legal department if they are aware of any reason why that ordinance would not go into effect 20 days from now.
I'm aware of no reason, no.
Okay. Are you aware of any potential reason that somebody could claim, well, let me be specific. The mayor, I believe, has, I don't know, let me just say it's a rumor, so I don't want to state, put words in other people's mouths. I am concerned that, the mayor could potentially say, why I'm not going to make these salary increases, I'm not going to support them. And I'm wondering if in your legal opinion, he would have the authority to do that if he so chose.
The question is
hold on.
would he have the authority to not enact the ordinance?
Right.
Right.
That's Councilman's question.
That is my question. Hold on.
I mean, at the present time, as the ordinance is currently drafted, I do not see anything that would bar that.
Okay. Yes.
It's true.
You can come back, yes. I'm talking about not implementing versus vetoing.
James?
Yes.
So I just,
If we make a veto, then what happens is?
Well, veto is different, it come back to us.
Right. Yeah.
I'm asking about saying that some different legal reason to say I'm not going to implement it.
Right.
So, no legal
Okay.
issues. So now, if we veto, it come back to the city council, then we can reintroduce?
yes. You could override it.
Override. So it's a 2/3, right? But we
Overriding veto is a 2/3 vote.
Yeah, but we're gonna be all in favor. Peter, be careful.
Pardon me?
So the question I would have then is, how much time does the mayor have to enact a veto?
Just 10 days.
10 days from the
Final adoption.
authorization.
To communicate a veto message to me, yes.
And there's no pocket veto provision, correct?
So the council should know that I've had communications with the administration about this, the mayor. Suggested and talked to many of the members of the council as well about this, right? That, just for the public record, I guess, as well. That, and as I said at the council meeting as well, that committed to adjusting salaries appropriately for directors as well as council people and council aides, right? And so have had some conversations with the BA as well as Human Resources towards that end. Admittedly, there's more work to be done because some other things have taken over the past 2 weeks. And so still kind of working through that to figure out what might be possible there. If you have ongoing thoughts about that, and I know you made some of that stuff very clear as to what your positions are, but I told the administration that I will have happy to take on ownership of it and introduce the ordinance as well and work with the city council to see if we can work through this and come to some kind of solution that works for everyone around this. And avoid a veto or any other sort of actions that may, I'm sure we can come to some sort of compromise on all of this stuff. Okay? All right.
Well, the mayor would be committing an act of faith then, because next meeting wouldn't be for 2 weeks.
I'm aware of that. I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit more.
Okay.
Brought that up. We'll work through that.
Resolution from the top?
Resolutions, let's go.
No other in the second readings, but
Anything else on second reading, anyone?
No.
Is that what you were waiting for? Oh my God.
Good night, Kavanaugh. A is a chapter 157, we're receiving grants and spending them. This is something you're going to see until the end of the year because we've already adopted our budget. B and C were already done. D amends a resolution to recognize SP Jersey Realty as the new owner of the property at 286 Martin Luther King Drive. And for SP Jersey Realty to assume all obligations under the city's mortgage against the property. E is a resolution to amend Resolution 18-734 to correct the property address and to discharge the city's mortgage against the property located at 51 Neptune Avenue. F is a resolution authorizing the execution of a mortgage subordination agreement affecting the property known as 478 Bramhall Avenue. G, H, I, and J authorize the BA to discharge mortgages at 143 Arlington, 170 Bergen. There are two at 62 Clendenny, one for $9,250, the other for $24,900. I love a page when I have all dots on it. That means we've done K through R already, and just two resolutions to do on the next page. Resolution authorizing the award of contract to Lawman Supply for the purchase and delivery of ammunition under state contract so that our police officers can qualify at the range. V is in a contract to Atlantic Tactical to buy ballistic body armor for our police department, our police division, public safety. Z3, authorizing the award of a contract to Software House International Corporation for the purchase and implementation of a tax application.
Can I confirm tomorrow? I just want to talk to people.
Sure.
Yeah, I just want to, because there is a time sensitive element to this. I just want to make sure that this is the right way to go, no matter.
Which one now?
There's we are potentially going to withdraw Z3, but I just want to confirm a couple things. There's some moving parts, and we want to make sure we have the right stuff in place at the right time.
Okay. So I'll just put a question mark for now.
Yeah, I'll let you know tomorrow. I'll confirm tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's for the tax collector's office under state contract funded by the Department of Administration. Z4 we did. Z5 is awarding contract to Bud Larner to represent the city of Jersey City. Anicia Cialone, Cameron Black, Matthew Ward, Dana Jeffrey, Chris Fiore, and Marcus Vigil in the matter of Mecca Realty Properties Incorporated et al. via the city of Jersey City.
I thought we had, we talked about this at the agenda meeting. I thought they had dropped their suits.
I can speak to you about that more
Okay.
offline, but it's, they're.
He was just here too. So.
I'm sorry?
He was here.
Didn't we talk at the last council about doing a closed session next, so we were going to put it on the agenda this session, so that 2 weeks from now we would talk about.
Because that's on here.
It is? I didn't see it.
Where?
I
It should be the closed session. We requested that.
I don't recall seeing it, but I could have gotten it wrong.
It's not here.
I remember you requesting that.
It was at the agenda meeting.
It's not on the agenda.
Robert, I'll follow up, and it should have been sent out to you, and I'll make sure.
Okay, I'll add it, and we'll do it
Yeah.
2 weeks from tonight at
Yes.
5.
That's what we had.
And the other,
Yeah, that seems to be all right.
And the question,
Well, there were several items, so if I may ask, maybe we can do 4:30, because there was several lawsuits that were,
Yeah, that's, I mean, if we can get the council here, then I can,
yeah.
we can do that.
And I actually was interested, part of what I wanted to add was, is could we add Z5 to it? That, you know, obviously if it.
Sure.
Was that one of the ones that we had noted already?
I thought it was one of the ones.
Okay, if it's already there, great.
If it's not, we'll add it.
Awesome.
So we could, you could do it under the broad umbrella of matters in litigation.
Can't you put in the what is it called, Z25 too?
Z25, the administration's withdrawing that. Apologies for the kind of not finished product that you received. We'll wait to discuss it at the next council meeting with the medical center here, but this is the result of us settling a legal matter.
Yes, but settle the legal matter, but we didn't have any information.
Yeah, I know. That's why we're withdrawing it, and we're going to talk about it.
There was hope that you would have it all buttoned up
We were trying,
today.
and we were still making changes to the document over the weekend, and we said, let's just wait till the next.
All right.
All right. Z6, ratifying and renewing a professional services agreement with McCusker, Al-Selmy, Rosen, and Carvelli to represent the city of Jersey City in general legal services. Except for the McCusker, that sounded like an Italian restaurant. Z8.
Rosen?
Yeah. And Rosen, yeah. Z8, ratifying an emergency contract with Crowd Control Warehouse for the purchase and delivery of barricades for the Department of Public Safety.
So we did this in the previous meeting.
Yeah. So I forgot to update you on this. Greg here said that there was an issue with the vendor that we approved, and so this is a new vendor.
But the barricades that are sitting around the streets, you wouldn't have to buy anymore.
So what did we do on 4th of July?
We borrowed barricades from other places, and we used some of ours. So we don't have enough at this point.
That's because right around the streets, they're all over the streets.
You can just tell people to put in cyclic picks or email me or call us, and we'll pick them up. But they should be picked. They typically put them out before an event, no more than a day before, and typically pick them up the day after. So.
Z10, appointing Maureen K. Ewlings as secretary to the Insurance Fund Commission.
Let me ask you the problem. Insurance fund commissioner, do they really pay them? Do they pay any transportation money, anything like that?
All I'm aware of is that we have a stipend for.
They ever pay like $10,000 a year, is that true?
This position as a stipend, yes.
Like around $10,000 each. How many meetings they have per year?
12.
Every month?
Plus, once a month, plus a lot of administrative work that goes into this.
Did you handle all workman's comp and?
Yeah, we're supposed to do like a mini, actually the two of us are, Nick and I are on that commission, and it's sort of like a mini council where we have a lot of resolutions and a lot of approvals to go through.
Z11, appointing Rahat Chata as alternate member number 1 of the Jersey City Municipal Utilities Authority.
I have some, I guess my request, I do not know Mr. Chad at all, I have not met him, I don't believe. My request is for MUA, for us to be able to interview the commissioners or speak to them before the meeting, and obviously tomorrow is, I personally don't have enough time to have this conversation with them tomorrow, just I'm thinking, $550 million bond requests, potential rate increases, long-term flooding issues. So any commissioner of the MUA to me is one that I want to really have a sense of what are their priorities walking in and what's their commitment to, I think, safeguarding taxpayer dollars. So I would like to speak to him before we vote on him, but that's my personal request.
Actually, Councilman James Solomon is right. Actually, Council President, we should be, before we appoint anybody, because any appointment, they need a council consent. What we should do, we set up like a hearing committee, at least 3 council members, and we should have a hearing, or they should show up this council, make like a 2-3 minutes intro themselves, and we can ask a question the way James Solomon.
You don't belong on the redevelopment.
JCMU is a very important part of it, and there's another
Neither one of you.
different type of tax to people of Jersey City, and they have too much powers, so we should be have, like the way Councilman James Solomon mentioned today, we should be have, like a hearing committee, appointment hearing committee, we should be have that. Especially JCMUA, and what is it called? Redevelopment Agency. You know, yes, we should do that. You know, they appoint as Councilman Daniel Rivera as redevelopment. We know him, he's here, and we know where he's standing. But most of the people, we don't even know. You know, some kind of courtesy we should be required. All right? Council President?
What's that? He wants to set up a committee.
No, we'll play this out.
Interview those who are going
Yeah.
on the.
So especially like, not every, you know, but JCMUA,
That's the quickest way to say it. Yeah.
redevelopment agency, in a certain department we believe that is very important, you know. Yeah, library, one of them, and also planning board. So we should have an interview, yes. So call hearing committee, they should be presented there where they stand, what is they're looking for, what is their goal, you know what I'm saying? Instead of just be a rubber stamp and they just, we don't want to see that, right? Is it fair? It's very fair to the taxpayer of Jersey City. Right, James? Actually, that's why I marked that.
You have to do all the committees, so you have to.
Yeah, there's
In all fairness.
but it might be easier to do that sort of thing at a caucus where you interview.
That's why we have the municipal service application that people fill out, and that's how they get chosen, so
You can come here, to be honest.
all the applications could be shared.
Yeah, Brian, you're smart.
I mean,
Find
you
a
can
way
set
to,
up, like,
Yeah.
okay? Good luck.
We can
Yeah.
we'll get all the applications to all the councilmen.
So what they call is Councilman Joyce Waterman's recommend, we have a meeting 5:30, maybe we call 4:30 meeting, 1 hour we interview them. And we're gonna have a tough question. They
We
will
may,
have,
we may
okay.
not, but that might be an easy way to do it instead of
So
trying.
I think, this is my first crack at this conversation, so, I mentioned at the previous meeting about the Bayfront doing some sort of selection process around that, a lot of transparency, so I see value in that. I think, you're talking about a lot of appointments, potentially.
that's what I'm saying.
And so we'd really have to kind of narrow in, and there's like, I think, because we could bog down the wheels of government here with like endless kind of committees and meetings.
In the end, there are straight out appointments by the mayor, and the mayor does nominate.
but every appointment need a council consent. So that's why.
Not all, some,
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
many are just straight out mayoral appointments.
Whatever they require council consent, we like to interview them, period. Simple. And we don't want to do all, but certain department, the JCMA is one of them, planning board is one of them, and the redevelopment agency, yes.
So there would have to, that's what, so there would have to be agreement on what those, like, again, there's an entire list. I mean, we can go on and on about how many appointees there are, and like, again, you can just grind the government to a halt on this
All
stuff.
right, we go to Z12, resolution appointing councilperson at large Daniel Rivera as a member of the redevelopment.
So,
We need to interview.
Let's eviscerate him. Z13, appointing James J. Eacock as a member of the Jersey City Rent Leveling Board. Z14, Shelley A. Brown, one of your constituents, Councilman Yun, as a member of the Jersey City Redevelopment Agency. Z15, Rent Leveling Board. Did I say something else?
You said redevelopment.
Oh, pardon me. Z15, Gigi's back as a member of the Jersey City Immigrant Affairs Commission. Be good to see her around. Z18, appointing Edward P. Folks as a member of the Jersey City Community Advisory Board for the Bayfront Redevelopment Project. Z19, appointing Uche Apka as a member of the Bayfront Redevelopment Project, Community Advisory Board.
I'm just going to interrupt, just Gigi Gazon is Genevieve. We can request, she's great, and she'll be a great member, but she needs to update her resume. It says July 2013 to present, that she's working for the mayor's office, so. I know she works for the New York Immigration Coalition, that's the reason why she's.
You never really stop working for the city, so.
I guess that's true.
I'll get that, I'll get that.
Interested in contacting the members, just not, I don't feel like I need to interview them, but do we have contact information for them?
I have addresses for them.
No,
Do
phone.
we have phone or email?
I could ask the administrator if he does.
I think their resume has an email address or something.
No, it does not.
No, it does not.
We-
'Cause I looked at them too. and-
We kind of redact that so it doesn't get out on the web and people get.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say about that, traditionally, at least leading up to the now, is like, people could, as council members, depending on their level of interest in engaging in this, would just contact, which I've done in the past, just contact them directly, and reach out to them. So, ergo, reached out to Charlene and Jeff before today's meeting as well, along with the other two members of the Bayfront Advisory Commission, to get their interest. Fortunately, none of their contact info was on there, except other than their addresses, so fortunately I knew all of their phone numbers in that particular case. But, so that's another method that's been used in the past to kind of get that done, but granted today is Tuesday and tomorrow is Wednesday, so it makes it challenging to accomplish that. So.
Okay, these should be easy, the next three. Recognizing Joseph Florist on their 50th anniversary in business. Resolution recognizing the month of September as Childhood Awareness Month.
Cancer awareness.
Childhood, I don't have the word cancer in the title. Childhood, yeah, I do.
It's on this, it's just not on the agenda. Yeah.
Excuse me?
It's on here, it's not on the agenda.
Yeah, typist left out the word. Z22 recognizing and congratulating David's Barbershop for the 5th anniversary in business and strong commitment to the community. And I hear that young kid is coming after the mayor for the haircut he gave him.
So council members, just two things. There'll be a young man, and his name escapes me right now, on the Childhood Cancer Awareness Month that this resolution presented to their families. He is, I believe, actively fighting cancer right now. And then Councilperson Prinzary will present to David's Barbershop, correct?
Yeah, and David will be here along with maybe all 5 of his brothers, so, yeah.
Okay,
And,
Z23.
we need to get cleaned up.
A professional.
C-23, does this involve a whole group of people that were going to be promoted to lieutenant, or is it just the two of them? How many officers are involved in this Z-23? Is it just Montone and Astria, or does this include all the other officers?
No, there were all the other officers.
All right, this is costing us a fortune, and we're paying interest on this money that was allotted to these officers. It's costing the taxpayers a complete fortune, and now you're putting out another $50,000, and the judge already ruled basically that the city had no case. This is unbelievable.
So far, we spent the $400,000 cost of litigation, and how far we have to go. And this item, we should be included at the closing door session.
Well, we had a
and
closed
we'd
session.
like to discuss it at
I'll
time.
remind you, we had a closed session on this back in the
Yeah.
meeting.
All right, we're paying interest on the amount of money that they were awarded. I'm not saying that the lawsuit was correct, but we're paying interest, the judge ruled on it, and as far as I understand, the judge is basically saying the city is making kind of fool of
If there are
themselves.
specific questions as to the ongoing litigation, I can schedule a closed session.
Yeah, just make it part of the same closed session. So the request from Councilman Boggiano is let's have that closed session and then bring this back after that.
Yes, so we can, a little more discuss at Z-23. Already we spent $400,000. Based on Councilman Rich Bojano say that we got no case, then why we continue to spend the money? So, yes.
Okay, we can do that for the 24th as well.
Okay. All right, we've done everything else. Would someone kindly make a motion to adjourn at 9:04? Thank you, Councilperson Prinzary. Motion seconded by Councilman Solomon. By all in attendance, excepting Councilman Robinson, who we've been missing tonight, say goodnight.
Good night.